what's your call to adventure. So like however you want to interpret it, it's basically what took you from where your life was before, like you were saying to me on the call, where you was like really into drink and drugs and stuff, and then how you got to where you are now, and like so running like 100 miles and stuff.
Like my past, or
yeah,
for fucking days, but yeah, pretty much. So yeah, life generally. I grew up in a council estate not far from here in Cardiff. Yeah, growing up was just about drinking, partying, and that was pretty much my life on and off for years. I think around about 2010, my life took a real turn. I pretty much lost everything, and I don't mean materialistic stuff. My life had spiraled out of control, and little did I know then, I had obviously, I'm neurodivergent. I was diagnosed with a various amount of mental health disorders, spent a bit of time in and out of hospital, skipping a few years. I'd obviously moved out of Cardiff, moved back in with my parents. Eventually we moved to Bridgend, to be closer to my sister and the kids. I was there for maybe 1 or 2 years. My mother passed away, which just left me and my dad. So my father looked after me for a good couple of years whilst I got back on my feet. And yeah, I've just been with him ever since. And I'll have to give a big mention to my friend Stevie. He's got a brain injury, but he was doing a lot of running and he was trying to get me. He was like, come on, go running, you'll love it. It took me a long time to listen to him. And I eventually started running. I did do 2 5k events with him, a charity event, only 5k, in Cardiff. I think it was Race for Victory.
Okay.
The 1 year, and I did it the year after. And by off chance, how I actually got into running was properly, was an old friend, Lucy. She works for Cardiff and Vale Health Charity, and she just said, we'll pay for you to do the Cardiff half marathon, and you got to raise £200. And I was like, yeah, go on. So I think you mentioned it. You did it with without any training, and that was pretty much me. I was trying to train for it for about 2 weeks before, and I was like, in my head, I could have killed her. I was like, oh, how do I get out of this? But I had the perfect excuse. I picked up a chest infection the week before, and then something switched in my head. I was like, well, I've collected a few quid in, not a lot. And I've said I'm a man of my word. So if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I was like, I got to do this now. So I went to see the doctor, ended up on antibiotics. And she said, I obviously asked for advice. I said, shall I do it? And she was like, well, if you've got to walk it, you should be fine. I was looking at her thinking, well, I'm going to pretty much have to walk it, because there's no way I'm going to run it. So yeah, turned up the day. The main struggle for me were the crowds. That was a big challenge in itself. And I started, and literally ran the whole way. I finished in a time of, 2:20. But it was strange. I sort of got to the 10k mark without stopping, and I was like, well, I feel okay. Get to the next marker, and yeah, managed to run all the way around, and I was like amazed. I was like, wow, look what I've done without any training. So I thought I may as well carry on. So I think I did like a 5k event in Coopersfield. There was an event by me in Margam Park. I did that, which was 10k, which was like slightly trailish, and then COVID hit. But luckily, I carried on through COVID. So I was doing a lot of road running. I did go through a bit of a bad patch as well. And I was literally, I just couldn't get out of bed. I was just sinking back down, and I'm not religious at all. And a friend of mine, who I mentioned, the one with bipolar, he just rang me up out the blue, and he's very religious. And I used to mock him years ago, which looking back is not a good thing to do. But I just said to him, just do me a favour and pray for me. And he was like, I pray for you every day anyway. And I was like, okay. And then Mrs. G literally phoned me the next day, who is a friend I met through a group, just run Penabont. And we started social distance running through lockdown. And it so happened she was a born-again Christian, and I was like, like it sort of freaked me out a bit. I was like, but yeah, we were running through lockdown. It was nice because there was no cars on the roads. We got a lot of lanes. We got Merthyr Mawr, so it was lovely. And yeah, we carried on. I then did quite a few events, road running events before lockdown. I think halfway everyone was allowed to drive again, so I was running and I was like, I don't like the traffic on the roads. I'm asthmatic as well, so I could taste the fumes, and I had that voice in my head saying, oh, you don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. So he mentioned again, Stevie, why don't you hit the trails? And I was like, okay. So I just started adventuring up into we surrounded by nature reserves, so I was doing a lot of running around Park Slip. Then I was up Crag and Aber. I was doing like 5-10Ks, but what I soon realised was my chest doesn't open up for like 5, 6, 7 miles, and then through lockdown, because we had a lot of time on our hands, and I literally thought, well, I'll just keep on going now. And I soon realised I could run pretty good miles. I used to take breaks. I'd find a reservoir, sit there, have something to eat, chill out. No rush. It was enjoyment, really. And yeah, I just carried on doing that. And the one day I got lost, I'd literally signed up to do a mountain marathon up in the Lake District. It was on the 29th of May. Can't remember the year, but it was just after lockdown anyway. And there was an event I spoke to you earlier about, which was meant to be on the same day in Wales, but we couldn't do that because we were 3 months behind England. So I then signed up to do this event in the Lake District. So I was allowed to jump in the car, have a weekend up in the Lake District, and do this event. So I did the event. I think it was in Ambleside it started, and it was 28 miles, and it was the biggest wake-up call I've had, because like obviously I'd been up in Brecon, but this was like some serious like climbs, and I was like, wow. I finished that, I think it was around about 28, 29 miles in around about 9 hours, and I had I don't know what it was, but the feeling was unreal. I was jacked, and I mean this feeling come over me, and I just couldn't get rid of it for days and days and days, and that was it. I was hooked. So the addictive personality got hooked. I can remember phoning my mate, and I was on FaceTime to him, and I was like, and he was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've never been better, and I've just unbelievable what I've just done." And he was just laughing at me, because obviously they still can't believe like the change in me. There's a lot of people who just get hold of me now, and they're like, "How the hell have you changed your life around?" I get a lot of lovely comments. I don't get any negative comments at all, which is a good thing. I don't get a lot of support off my old friends, because obviously a lot of them are still doing what they're doing, but yeah, you know, people from my past are like, you know, fair play to you, you know, for what you're doing. You're an inspiration, and I'm like, I don't know how to take that sometimes, but it's nice, I suppose. So yeah, I did that. Come back, and then the one event which was meant to be taking part in Wales took place 3 months after. So I signed up to do that, but it was only a half marathon up in the Black Mountains. That done me in, that did. I was done by then. I'd literally pushed myself. I wasn't doing any strength training. I wasn't really stretching properly. I had no idea, because I had no guidance. It was just me, being me, spontaneous, and just doing everything on my own like I normally do. And then basically, yeah, so I can't think of what the first event after that I did. So I was injured then. I picked up an injury, and I was out for 10 months, which was difficult.
What was the injury?
Oh, now you've got me. I'm going to have to try and pronounce this. Peroneal tendonitis or something, I think. Okay. It was a freak accident. I'd signed up to do the Dragons 50, because I thought, how ironic would it be to do 50 miles from near enough where I live now to where I grew up. So I was like, I'm going to do that. I'd been to yoga in the morning the week before, and I was walking home, and I just felt an horrendous pain in the bottom of my foot shoot up my leg, and I was like, oh, this is not good. So I walked home, rested it for a few days, and it was a change in the weather, so the weather had gone really warm, and I was like, well, I haven't run in this heat for a while. I need to go out and test to see if I'm going to be able to make the start line. And I went out on the Thursday, felt the pain, and like an idiot, carried on running for about 5 miles, and got back, literally just couldn't put my foot on the floor. Yeah, and 10 months out then, like an idiot, but you learn from mistakes. So I think I've pretty much now sussed out pain you can push through, and pain where you need to stop.
Yeah.
So I've done it. You're going to have to probably edit this part, right? Because Stevie, I missed the part of how I ended up getting back on my feet. He gave me a nudge and said, you used to love being out in nature as a kid. Come up Penavan with me. And I was like, I bloomed up to like 15.5 stone. I think I had a non-alcoholic dependent liver disease, which was crazy to me because I'd give up alcohol, and it was from eating that caused that. And I was in a real bad way. So I thought, well, the one day come and pick me up. Took me up there. It absolutely destroyed me. I got there. I was blown away. The views were amazing. I was in bed for a week after. I couldn't move. Literally couldn't move. So yeah, that was like pretty much the start of me thinking I need to, think of my health.
So was that before the 5Ks?
Before, yeah, sort of before the 5Ks. Okay. and that sort of got me in, and just basically started me getting out of the house anyway, and just walking and stuff, because I couldn't run from one lamppost. So what I was trying to do was go from lamppost to the next lamppost on my estate, and then walk the next one, and then try and run from there to the next one. So yeah, big shout out to Stevie. Fast forward a few years now, he's had to give up running, because although he's got a brain injury, it was due through a car crash out in Tenerife, where he pretty much died. They brought him back, but he literally had really bad problems. Like, the muscle was taken off his shoulders, his legs. He had breaks everywhere. He was in a coma for about a week, I think it was. It was touch and go for a while. So he'd given up. But like I said, fast forward, I was trying to then, in lockdown, get him out of the house, because he'd sunk into a bit of a, not depression, but he wasn't active. And I took him up Penavan, and it was like I was waiting for him, which was crazy, because the first time he was like going off, and like he was like, come on, and then it was me doing the same thing, and he was like, I can't believe how far you've come. Yeah, so that's the story about me and Stevie. Yeah, so I'm just trying to work out now. I got to try and work out in order. This is going to be the hardest part, in order how I got into my first ultra and what year it was. So yeah, I come back from the
10 months of injury.
And I was going to see a physio in the hospital, and the guy I spoke about, Lee, who I'd met back in 2010, I was walking into the hospital, and he was there in Costa Coffee. So of course I seen him, and I went over and had a chat with him. I was like, you okay? And he was like, oh no, I've been sectioned. I was like, here's my number. So yeah, we were speaking back and forth, and he seems to listen to me, and he's a decent kid, but he's been ill since he was like 19 years of age, and it's not drink related, it's not drug related, it's just he's got an illness, and I've been pretty much helping him like for the last couple of years, and working with him made me realise that I'm pretty good working with people with mental health disorders. There's a few stories we're going to have to come back and forth to with him, because the little shit. So yeah, I bumped into him, and then I was helping him. I got him out of hospital because he was listening to me. He was like anti-authority. He wouldn't listen to anyone in the hospital. He was like, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And like, with me speaking to him on the phone every day, I sort of managed to get him out, back on his feet. He's now driving, doing really well. I hadn't seen him for a while. You're gonna have trouble editing this because I hadn't seen him leading up to the opponent, but I was training as hard as I could, so I didn't really have time for him, although I would have, if he had been phoning me, I would have spoken to him on the phone. I hadn't seen him. Kevin dropped me back from the opponent at 5 o'clock on the Monday morning. My dad was still up, so we had an amazing chat. I thought, right, I need to lie down, because I hadn't slept literally from, I think I got up around about 3:30 on the Saturday morning of the opponent. Well, 10 o'clock, I'm tossing and turning because I can't sleep after an event because I'm just so jacked. Yeah. And all I heard was, Rich! And I was like, that's Lee. So I've got up, opened the door. I was like, where have you been? And I cut a long story short, I was like, get in the house. And then I pretty much spent the whole of that day as well, Monday, talking to him because he'd obviously had a relapse. Yeah, so I've been helping him again now for the last 2 or 3 months. He's back out. He's doing a bit of volunteering himself now. He'll be getting his driving licence back again, hopefully now in the next month. Yeah, so I like helping people. I always have. But I know the people to help now, whereas before I would help a lot of people, but not that I wanted anything from it, but when you need it off them and they were nowhere to be seen, or there was an excuse like, oh, I can't, I'm busy, I'm this, that, and it's a bit disheartening. But that's never stopped me from helping people. Yeah, so obviously after the experience of missing the Dragon 50, that year I started back running, gradually built up. I did a couple of half marathons. I think it was Tough Runner, so I did their half marathon. Then I signed up to do the Vale, but I did the 18, which was nice because it's my local beach, Ogmore by Sea. So I did that. And I was contacted by someone, a friend of mine I was in school with, his younger brother. Now, his older brother, the guy I was in school with, was an ultramarathon runner anyway, reaching out for help. And I was like, okay, no problem. He's like, when's your next event? So we'll have to backtrack a bit because I said it's the 18 miles. And he was like, all right, I'll do that. Literally, he had 2 weeks to train for it. And I was like, well, can you do that? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. So he did that with me. We finished it. And he said to me, I've never done an event with that was the least distance I'd ever done in an event. And I was like, oh, well, what have you done? He said, well, I do mountain events, ultras. That's what I used to do. I was like, oh, did you? I knew your brother did, but I didn't know you did. And he'd done the Lakelands 100, completed it once. I think he DNF'd twice. And that's sort of like, I got home from doing the 18 miles and I was sat there, my legs were absolutely battered, and you're looking at your phone, and I just seen this one, and it come up, Limitless Trails. I'm not sure if it was Beacons to the Blacks or Blacks to the Beacons, 50 miler, and it was a mountain ultra. And I was like, sent in the link, come on then, let's do this. And he was like, all right then. And my foot was a bit dodgy at the time still, so I was like, okay, we'll go up into the mountains and we'll do like 30 miles, because he knew the mountains really well. I said, pick a course which is going to like test me and you, and see what time it takes us. And he picked like a 30-mile loop starting off in Talabont. And yeah, we did that, and I'm not sure how many hours it took us, but it was pretty decent. So I thought, right, let's go for it. And yeah, that was my first ultra. So we went to Limitless, absolutely blown away. They were amazing. Did that. We started off straight up, I think it's Perth Pier, so it was the Blacks to the Beacons. Straight up, and I was like, fucking hell, what am I doing? So I thought, well, I'm not going to go off fast because you've got a 24-hour time limit. And I thought, that's doable, as long as I can just keep going and going and going. So off we went, and we were doing it half decent pace. We got to the halfway checkpoint, and when we got there, obviously our drop bag was there, something to eat, changed my socks, and there was a lady called Deborah Fisher, and a friend of hers, she was already at the checkpoint, and a friend of hers was had gone over on his ankle, or he'd injured himself, or her, I can't really remember now. And she said, do you mind if I run with you? And I thought, yeah, no problem. She's already at the checkpoint. She's faster than us. So off we went, and this is where the part of the course goes up Penna Pass, across, too many names to mention going along. Then it went down Granny's Path, to Ponderdaft Car Park, Story Arms, back up, and there was another checkpoint there. And they were coming off, and Debs, bless her, she was ill. So, me being me, I wasn't leaving her. And I didn't realise at the time that we had back runners. So, I was like, right, come on, we can do this. We got I think it was about 20 miles left. But she couldn't drink, she couldn't eat. So, off we went, straight up to Corndy, across the Penavon. It started to rain. Dave, bless him, had to dress her because she was just weak and whatever. And darkness had come in by then, so it was obviously the night section. We went down Cribbin. Down Jacob's Ladder, up Cribbin. And she started telling us some stories about events she'd done, and it happens to her all the time. And she's in her 60s, but an amazing woman. But anyway, cut a long story short, we stuck together, and she finished with us. And I was emotional when I finished that. It was like, wow, look how, I can't believe what I've done. Look how far you've come. And Ellen gave me a hug, and I was like, a complete mess. I gotta be fair, I broke down. I was on the chair, my hand, I was just emotional. And that was the first ultra I completed. I couldn't have picked a harder ultra to do. And 50 miles, like a normal person would probably, go for 32 or even a 30. But yeah, that was the first one. And I was hooked then after that. I think then, I'm just trying to work out in the order of what we did. Oh, yeah. Dave wanted me to get 100 miler because he'd done one. And he was like, you can do it. So we signed up to do GB Ultras, Snowdonia 100.
Oh, what a 100 miler to pick.
Straight off, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So the type of person I am now. It's just I'm too impulsive. So we went there. But you know what? I was quite fit then, because obviously running through lockdown, my running was really good, but I wasn't that strong on in the mountain sections because it was all new to me. We went up. I got to about 30 miles in. Everything was going fine. I mean, what a course. It was, we had to climb Tryfan. That was Tryfan. Heather Terrace, up there, up over the Glithers, down, up Snowdonia, back down, and then back over the Glithers. Devil's Kitchen. Have you ever been up there? Dear God, that was just Dave took us off where we just couldn't see a path down it. Obviously I had my watch with the directions, which I'm hopeless with anyway. We ended up going down. He said, oh, it's this way. So I sort of dropped down into this little like a horseshoe, and all I heard was turn back. I was like, why? He said because there's a 3,000 meter drop down there. So I literally had to put my hand up onto the grass. I found a little pebble sticking out of the mud. I got my foot on that and pulled myself up. If I'd gone, we would have been gone. We eventually found the path, got down. Got about another 10 miles in. But there was a 50 mile, obviously, race as well. So we were back and forth with a couple of them. And they took a different path down there. So they were over the far side and we were over this side. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But we eventually got off. And then it's the reservoir or whatever it is at the bottom. We could have run that way round. But we decided, because they were running that way wrong, we wanted to go that way, which probably added an extra couple of miles onto the ultra. So yeah, we were back and forth with them, and then we got to the checkpoint. Same again, food, hot drink, and then we all took off together and got lost. Every single one of us. There must have been about 8 of us, and everyone's GPS was telling to go this way, that way, and we ended up in like dense wood. Like, it was near enough like a forest. But instead of like, I don't know why, no one turned around and said like, let's go back the way we've just come and then find the path we got to take. Bear in mind, there was a guy who'd wrecked it as well, and he didn't know where he was. And then I just heard Dave go, right, it's this way, and he's just, you can hear bushes being bashed down, and he's just going through. Like, we know we got to go over there, but he's bashing everything down. I can hear people screaming. It was like thorns. Like, this one woman from Scotland, when we come out of it the other side and eventually found the path we were meant to be on, she was sliced up to bits. There was one guy, he'd hurt his knee, and he was in absolute agony. Every step he was taking, he was wincing. We had to climb over like walls in this woods, but fair play, he carries on. And then yeah, we got about 5 miles in, and I had a funny turn. I could feel my chest was really tight. By then, my watch had run out as well, so I got the power pack out, put it on charge. And everyone had like warm clothes on. I was still in a t-shirt, and I was dripping with sweat. And I said to Dave, I need to sit down a minute. And he was like, what's the matter? I said, I don't know. Like, I've never experienced anything like this before. Because I can feel a pain in my chest. So yeah, just drunk water, took my pack off, ate everything I could in my pack, and carried on. We were only probably another 5 miles to the 50-mile finish, and then obviously the 100-mile then was to carry on. But yeah, got to 50, got the medic to check me. I was like, I had a chest infection basically. So I said, look, I'm going to carry on, but it's putting other people in danger, so can I drop down to the 50? And they wasn't too happy about it, but they said, yeah, okay. Because I was like, look, I will carry on, and you will have to send someone to come and get me, and I don't want to do that, so can I drop down? And they were like, yeah, okay. So we ended up doing the 50 miles. But the Airbnb was booked for like another 2 days, so we went back there, and I got to mention my friend Helen, who I met on an event. I was I was volunteering on. She was crewing us. She's from Shrewsbury, lovely woman. She was crewing us, brilliant crew member. Like, literally, there's your drink, get like military style. Like, you got 5 minutes, drink, eat that, and off you go. So big shout to Helen, still friends now to this day. Went back to the Airbnb. Had a bit of a rest. I felt alright though. Physically, I wasn't too bad. I was like, and he said, well, do you want to come up for a walk up here, back up to Snowdonia? And I was like, well, we may as well make the most of it while we're here, because on the event, because it was on the Saturday, we couldn't get to the top of it. So there was it was so busy, there was like a marshal there, so we got to like a certain point, and then we had to turn back round. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we got there, we parked up in the car park, and off we went. And then he's gone, right. And I looked at him and I thought, oh, what's he got in store now? He goes, let's go this way. And I was like, all right then. I said, what is it? He said, oh, it's Crib Goch. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So when we got to like where the rocks started to go up, I was like, where are you taking me? He was like, it's all right, don't worry. Like, just, you'll be all right. So we started climbing it, and I was like, Dave, where the fuck is the rope? We need rope and a helmet for this. And he's laughing at me, taking a piss. And I was like... And all of a sudden, some guy popped out of nowhere, and he had a helmet on, like warm weather gear. And he's basically, I didn't know, it was the Dragon's Back race. It started on the Monday. So we were talking to him for a bit, and then off we went. Oh, mate, that was just unbelievable. That I was scared. That's the first like scramble I'd ever done. And I was going along here. I was like, literally, like, you know, I'm pretty good with heights, but it was just, I was thinking like we shouldn't really be doing this. So we ended up doing like the full horseshoe. We come down off Snowdonia and then started making our way right back round, and I could hear flapping. It was like a tent. You know when you had a tent going. So I said, Dave's to me now, he's the expert mountain guy, because he's told me all the stories about like how much he's spent in the mountains and what he's done. So I'm relying on him now for everything. I'm saying, what's that noise? And he's going, I don't know. Then he went again. And I was like, I'm looking around for a tent. And all of a sudden, I got blown straight off my feet. My hat went up in the air, done like circles. I'm looking up at it like that. And then eventually come down and landed right by me. And I was like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me that was going to happen? And he was like, how did I know that? I was like, you're the fucking mountain guy. And by then, like the leaders had already passed us on the Dragon's Back, but there was a couple of more of the runners had passed when it happened, and they'd stopped and like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But luckily, it happened on a part where there was no edges. And then we did the horseshoe, and I was so glad to get off that mountain. I was like, so that was that. That was the 100. That was the first DNF on 100. We come back then, and we did Limitless Trails reverse. So we did Beacons of the Blacks. Took off, and I don't know what was harder, which way round was harder. I think, definitely this one was harder, because the end was going up the Dragon's Back and then all the way through the Black Mountains back down to Perfect Pier. Yeah. If I'm pronouncing that right, mind. But I had asthma attack after asthma attack on that, and we literally stopped in the end again. I was like, pack off. There was a fireworks display going off in the distance, and we just sat there talking, eating, and just watching it. So eventually just like, right, like, come on then, let's carry on. My watch ran out again on that, and we sort of got lost, and Ellen had phoned us to say, you need to go left. And then we were literally trying to cross this heaven. I'd fallen over, and I was like a tortoise, like stuck on my back, my legs up. Dave's taking the piss laughing, and I'm going, don't fucking laugh at me. I was tired as well by then. I just couldn't get up. I was stuck. So I eventually got up. We got back onto the right path, and then we finished. But we literally did that 2.5 hours quicker than the first one. Right. And that's where we met Lisa. Lisa crewed me on the Beacons Way 100. I had a DNF on that as well. That was due to weather, though. They stopped me at Talabont, top of Talabont. Devastated. First DNF, like, really hit me, because the first 26 miles of that I went off way too quick. By that stage, Dave had disappeared, so it was back to running on my own. I went off way too quick. Got caught up in the moment. And look, what's the runner called? Abigail. She's on Instagram as Abs Runs, I think.
Oh yeah, she's just released a book.
Horse 200, not this year, the year before. I can remember her saying to me, I'm not following you because you'll get lost, because I took him a wrong way. There was like 2 guys going down that way, but it was I'm just following my watch. We didn't get lost too much. I didn't know who she was at the time. I recognised her from Instagram, although I wasn't following her. I just seen a feed to pop up now and again, and I didn't want to be a prick and go, "Oh, you're that woman off Instagram." But running with people, they were saying like, "Oh, I'm doing it in like 30 hours," and I was like, "I better slow down, because like I just want to finish it. You know, it's still hard, 40 hours." And then I really struggled then when we got into the Black Mountains. Like my heart rate went up to like 200.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew, like I had to stop for a bit. But then the longer I went on, the stronger I become. But the weather, it was horrendous that year. I think by the time I DNF'd at that checkpoint, I was on my like third set of waterproofs. Lisa was amazing that day. I would never have got as far as that if it wasn't for her. But you know, when you start feeling stronger and you know, like you're starting to believe. And at that point where I DNF'd, it was 17 and a half hours I'd been out for. And like that was the fastest time I'd like on my watch after. It was 52 miles I'd covered, but I got lost a lot on that. I kept on going round in circles. I was missing Tour de Fall. Is Tour de Fall? Yeah.
I think so.
You had to skirt that on the Beacons Way. Well, I'm used to going up that because I sometimes zone out, because I'd hit a lane. I sort of thought, well, I can make up a bit of time here. And the next thing then, my watch is bleeping going, "You're off course." So I was going back down, and then what it was doing, my watch, for some reason, it was taking me back the Beacons Way the opposite way. And I was like, kept on coming out in the same place. And I was like, I've done this so many times. Like, I was starting to get fucking really cross with myself. And Lisa's phoning me going, "There's a gate somewhere on the right-hand side." And I just couldn't find it because we'd had dry weather up until then. So all the training sessions I'd done, I went and done them in the hottest days we had up in the Beacons. And I was doing I think it was like a 13.5 mile loop with about 500 metres of elevation in, purely because I thought it's a summer event. And then it turned out to be that. It was just rain. So that was disappointing, the DNF there, because I felt strong and I felt like I had it in me. But I actually thought that I was the one who chose to DNF it, because they put obviously the higher level route had been taken out and they put a lower level route in. And I met Debs again on that event. She was doing the 100 miler and I'd run with her for a bit, and because I was struggling, she went on. But they took the lower level route, which was put in place, and it had flooded. So that checkpoint where I DNF'd was where their drop bag was. So they'd all got into literally dry clothes, and then as soon as they got up to Penna Pass, and I'm not sure if you know, there's like that little waterfall which comes down. Obviously in the winter there's a lot more water coming down, and that had all flooded. So that Abigail, all of them DNF'd at Penna checkpoint. So when I got out the van, Lisa had said to me, like, you know, they're putting a lower level route in. So I changed. I was still cold mines, because coming off Tour de Fall, I'd had to take the Roman path coming down, and that had flooded. So I was literally going through water there. So I knew it was going to be not flooded, but I knew it was going to be water. And I was getting a bit cold by then as well. But once I changed, I had a quick pot noodle, hot drink, changed. I was like, right, let's do this. So went to the checkpoint. Where's the lower level route? Said, it's flooded, mate. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going up there. That's it. And he went, I think that's a wise choice. So I thought I DNF'd there. So it was quite hard for me then. I was like, I got home, I was like, you could have gone up. And there was no way, because if you've ever parked there, there's no wind. Where normally there is a checkpoint on whatever event you do. There's always a checkpoint there. I trained around the vans there, and you know the drops. Yeah. So the wind was coming 60, 70 miles an hour in the direction where the drops were. So it would have been literally, I think I had like 4.5 hours to get to Penavan, and I was like, nah, there was no way. I thought my safety is more important.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until a couple months later, Lisa had turned around and said, they weren't going to let you do it anyway, Rich. And I was like, you could have fucking told me that. I've been beating myself up. And another funny story, because I was so disappointed, I found another Ultra the week after. This will make you laugh. Me being me, I've gone, yeah, that looks good. And it was cheap as well. Down in Chepstow, Office Dyke Path. I thought, right, I'll go there. Just to prove to myself that I still had it in me, right? I went there on a Sunday. I turned up, was going from Chepstow Castle. I turned up, I thought, where the fuck is everyone? There's no one around. I was thinking, oh, am I in the right place? Got the email. I'm a week early. I do it all the time. Like, I turn up a week early, so I thought, oh, fuck it, I may as well go for a recce. And I did. I went and done a little recce of it. Put a post up saying, dickhead of the day goes to me. How can you turn up to a fucking Ultra a week early? So anyway, the next week I went back. I stood in the car park, and a woman came up to me and said, oh, was you on the Beacons Way Ultra a couple of weeks back? I was like, yeah. She said, oh, I was on checkpoint 3, I remember you. And I was like, oh yeah. Didn't know her because I wasn't relying on the checkpoints. I was just going in to say I'm here, because Lisa was crewing me. So we ended up running the whole of I think it was 30, it was meant to be 35 miles. I think it worked out just under because they changed the route at the last minute. But that was a nice little Ultra. Yeah, so I did that. And what did I do after that? I think I signed up for something else after that. I just went a bit mad. Just trying to think. But, it was a no frills. I think it was their first event. They were, I can't remember the company's name. But they'd done a lot of triathlons. But I think it was their first Ultra, so their checkpoints were like, there was only 2, but they were like the bare minimum, a couple of Jaffa cakes, which are fine.
Yeah.
Obviously water, but they wasn't like, Pegasus or Limitless or anything like that. But the medal, like for what it cost, it was so cheap to enter it. The medal was the best medal I've ever had. It was like only small, but the detail was like a dragon with a guy on the back, like slaying it. So it was Dragon Slayer. That was the name of the actual Ultra, sorry, the Dragon Slayer. And yeah, so what did I do after that then? I shouldn't really have to look at that. So what we did then, because I'd volunteered for, I think they were called Trail Pursuit, where I met Helen in the Brecon Beacons. I had a free entry, and they were doing, so Trail Pursuit was the first event I did up in the Lake District. Because I was injured when they did the one in Wales, I just thought, well, I may as well go and volunteer. So I was on the checkpoint. What a complete fucking disaster that was. Their organisation, it was bad. They left one girl up on the mountain.
Shit.
They had me ticking off numbers, but you had like half marathon, all joining in the one checkpoint. And they were calling numbers out to me, and I'm in the back of the bleeding van they've given me a black marker, bit of cardboard, and I'm trying to write as fast as I can. I can't even understand my fucking own handwriting in the end. I was like literally, and then I had to try and mark them off when they come back down off the mountain. It was a disaster. I said, don't ever put me in that position again. Like, that was ridiculous. So there was a woman who was on top of Penavan, one of the mountain stewards, forget her name. She came down, the sweeper had gone up and come down, so we're talking, and all of a sudden I've looked up and there's a girl walking down towards us. Bear in mind it's dark now, but she looked like a hiker, and all of a sudden she got a bit closer, and I was like, guys, there's a girl coming down here and she got a race number on. They'd missed her. Luckily she was but there was a few. We had a few DNFs on that due to hypothermia, because it was October and it was again lashing down with rain. We got into the back of the van. Me giving her a good you can do this. Let's just warm you up, because she started crying. She was like, "Oh, I don't want to stop now." I was like, "No one's stopping you. We'll just get you checked out by the medic. Make sure you're okay. You'll be fine." Warmed it up a bit. She was fine, and off she went, and she completed that. So yeah, going on then to, I had a free entry, and they did another one up in the Lake District. So it was another marathon in a different location. But their ethos was, it was like a weekend, so they used to do like not a rave, but like live music and stuff after. And I think they put too much into that, and their organisation of that event I went to on their third event. We turned up, they changed the route at the last minute. They started an hour later, so the route was 15 miles, but you had to do it in 9 hours to do the second loop. So it would have been 2 loops to do the marathon, but it wasn't. It would have worked out 30 miles. I think only 4 people completed it out of I don't know how many 100 people, and it hit the news. Funny enough, Debs sent the link through. They had such bad reviews, it was unbelievable. I loved it though. Like, that 15 miles was such a challenge. Helen did that with me as well. And yeah, I personally wanted to carry on and do the second loop, but I was an hour outside the cut-off. But I was like, shall I go and do it? But it was the Volgum the week after. And my dad by then wanted to see me finish an ultra. And I was like, there's no way, he's not well enough to go to, the Beacons or whatever. But if I do this one, it finishes in Penarth. So I can get one of my nieces, nephews, or my sister to take him down, and he can be at the finish. And I bumped into a lovely girl, Kelly. And we run for a bit, and she was like, "Oh, you remind me of someone." And I was like, "Who's that?" She said, "Oh, well, I work in Cardiff." I was like, "Oh, what, like the cheeky chappy type of guy, is it?" She was like, "Yeah." She said, "You sound so much like this guy she works with." So we hit it off, and then we finished. I did stop at the 15-mile marker. There was a couple of people complaining, saying they wanted to carry on, and they were trying to say no. But it was dangerous. It was a very, very dangerous course. They had us going down one section through the heather, and it was people falling left, right and centre. There was potholes everywhere. You couldn't see it because it was just covered. Luckily, I used my head. Every time the girl fell in front of me, I'd help her up, and then I knew then not to step where she stepped. But I think, to be honest with you, doing that in the dark would have been dangerous. So I just thought, going back to Kelly, she said to me, I was talking to her about my dad. I got another ultra next week, and she sort of went, "Look, just call it a day then, because that seems to be more important to you, to have your father at the end of an ultra." And I was like, sorry.
No worries.
I put that on airplane mode, but tried it. I took it off tonight to go back on there. I don't even know what it is. It's probably cold callers. Sorry.
No worries, mate.
I just have to jog my memory where we were.
Yeah, so he was just saying about how Kelly, sorry. Kelly was telling you about how the Vogan was going to be more important, so your dad could see you finish.
Yeah. So Dave was still on the scene then, actually. And he'd come up to the Lake District with us, but he wasn't running. We drove back from the Lake District, and he was like, "We got the Vogum next week. I haven't really done any training all weekend. Let's do Penarth." I was like, "Oh, fucking hell." So literally drove all the way back from Lake District to Penavan and walked up Penavan. And I was like, fuck, I could have killed him. But he went on a bit. I just stayed on top of Penavan and he went down Jacob's Ladder, up Cribbin, and then back down, and then we come down. Yeah, then we did that, turned up for the Vogum then. It was meant to be arranged for my father to be at the end, so we started that, which is right by my house, near enough. That's a nice little course. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I've not done it. I've done parts of it because I went running with, do you know Mike Jenkins?
I've met him, yeah.
Yeah, I went for a run with them, and yeah, Mike was taking us around, showing us Barry, and it's like, oh, this is part of the Vogum route.
So the start it's not difficult, but it's sand, and then you get into the sand dunes of Merthyr Mawr, which is literally near enough by my house. It's only about 2k away from my house. Yeah, got probably about 18 miles into that. I met Kath Thompson on that event. She was running with a load of her friends. And I had that pain back in my foot. And I was like, I was lying down. I'm not lying down, I was sitting down actually. And I was like, oh, right, okay, I haven't got no tape, I haven't got anything now really to... I got like a bandage in my first aid kit, because I was carrying the same kit as I normally carry on a mountain event anyway. Yeah. And they're just amazing, aren't they? The ultra running community is just amazing. And there was a woman, Anetta, can't think of her second name. She does loads of Pegasus stuff. She was at the Epona. I think she attempted the wildhorse the year before. She came past and was like, oh, I got tape or whatever. So I managed to tape it up. I got to Fontagary, or Fontagary, or however you want to pronounce it, but I lived there for a while with my parents when I moved from Cardiff. So I literally run past like where our caravan was. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to live here. This was like the view we had, and I was a little bit buzzing off that. Got to the checkpoint, I thought, right, I'll just change my trainers. I just couldn't. Like, I put them on and I tried to take a step, and I was like, shall I stop? I thought, you know what, I can't. Like, this is the only opportunity my dad's going to ever... Like, that's what was in my head. My dad is going to be at the finish. Like, I got to carry on. So I popped the painkiller, put my other trainers back on, and off we went again. And I was like, it's just walking, and it's a good job, no cut-offs. And I was dreading the section from the Nap, right, because I don't like tarmac. So obviously where you hit the coastal path back in Sully, and I was dreading that the week before. I was thinking, oh, do you know what, I don't like that section of the course. But of course, when I hit that, it was a godsend, because my ankle wasn't going, so I managed to start running on that section. But I made it. I finished it. But yeah, so I had to have a bit of time off after that, because luckily it didn't really go like it did the first time. Yeah, so we did that. And I got interested in back running as well for Limitless. So I've done quite a lot of their events and back run for them. They're an amazing bunch of people. I know you've got a lot of people who've been on here who are doing the Pegasus slams, and Dan. Oh, what a Dan. What can you say about him, mate? What a guy. Like,
yeah, incredible.
He sorted my watch out for me on the Epona. Because my watch was doing it again. It was just useless. This was a new watch I bought mine, because after them events I thought, well, the thing is, I'm finishing. My watch was only lasting 16 hours on GPX or GPS or whatever it is. I was like, I need to upgrade my watch, and it broke. The battery was like 4 hours lasting. So I sent it back, and they were like, okay, we'll give you your money back. And then the Enduro 2 come out. And I was like, oh, I only had to put like £40 towards it. So then I ended up a watch with 36 hours. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Now I should, I haven't got no trouble with the watch. So, yeah, I've lost myself again now.
Talking about Dan fixing your watch at Epona.
Yeah, so I had the same problem then on the Epona. My watch was just going all over the place. And obviously Sarah I was, running with at the time. Luckily, I was with her. So this is why we teamed up, because I needed to know where I was going. She knew. It was, I don't know, it was just doing strange things, the watch. I knew I had a problem with it going into it with the sensors, because it wasn't picking up my heart rate, and I thought, well, I can't send it back now because I need it for the navigation. But little did I know, it was gone. But he fixed it for me. So on just after it was the halfway point, it started working better then. We started going up to tabletop, and yeah, that was fine. But watching his podcast, I know why he was so good with the watch, because he's a tech guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But mate, what the hell? How did he? Is that humanly possible? Of what he achieved?
Clearly, it is.
I know it is.
Insane.
But I've watched. I'm not sure. Is that the first time he's done the 200?
I think so.
Because I watched a YouTube video. I think it might have been Kelp and Fern, and it's of the Wild Horse 200, and he was like, most people were struggling at the end, but he was. I think it must have been his kids or whatever, come running up to him, but he was like literally, as you would be, I suppose. Like I'll probably be next year. Like you could see he was struggling, and then he went on to do the Epona. No, sorry, he went on to do the Vogum again, which I think was like the week after.
Yeah, it wasn't long after.
It wasn't long after, because I went down...
Like a week or two.
It was either a week, yeah, I think it might have been 2 weeks, but I thought it was like a week or two after. So I popped down to Checkpoint 1, because it's not far from my house. I think I seen John Ayres there. I think he was back running. I seen Jenks there, and his mate. And I'm like... I couldn't run up till then. I literally went a back run as part of my training. I thought, right, I'm going to put a 50-mile back run in, and it was the Black Mountains event, which I've done. We'll get back to that. I thought, well, it'll give me a chance to spend like 20 to 22 hours, maybe 24 hours on my feet. I enjoy it. It's a real good thing to do back running. You meet some amazing people. The amount of people I've met and the stories, everyone's inspiring. Did it again. What it is, I got so much to talk about. I don't know which order it is. It all comes in. Right, so I was going back. I knew I was going to do this, but 5 weeks before the Epona, I'm doing running the whole 50 miles back running for Limitless Trails, the Black Mountains, which is an amazing event. Brilliant course that is. It's just you haven't got the other ones. You've got like a lot of hikers and stuff, and this one's more like you don't see people apart from like your serious hikers. Straight away up Perth Pie again. Or pier. I just felt my back go into spasm. I was like, oh. I seen Mike, Ellen's brother. Spoke to him for a bit, carried on walking behind. I was on my own as well. I was the only back runner, and then someone was going to meet me and join me at the halfway. And I just couldn't get, it was getting worse and worse and worse, and I was in not so much pain, but it was just like I knew there was something wrong, and I was thinking to myself, I need to turn back. But I was like, there's no other back runners. And then I remember there was a guy he had like a yellow top on at the start. So when I was like halfway up, and I was thinking maybe I should walk back down to the start and go I'm sorry, I can't do this, my back's gone. I could see someone in a fluorescent top at the top of the mountain, and I was thinking, shit, is it this guy who's doing the event? I need to get up to the top. So I literally got to the top. I didn't have poles. God, this is another story. I snapped them on another event. So I didn't have any poles, so I was struggling. I got to the top, and it was Andy Gale, the photographer. I was like, gotta look good for the camera, like trying to smile, but I was in fucking pain. Like, I was like, and he's got his new drone, a new toy, and he's like, I got active track on it, can I put it on you? So then I'm trying to, like, literally with a bad back look as though I'm like trying to run. So I did that, and I don't think it worked because I've never seen the footage of it. So I carried on. I thought I'd at least get to the first checkpoint, and I carried on going. And then somehow then I was like, I literally had to take my pack off. I was trying to stretch it out. It wasn't working. And then it seemed to ease off. And I thought, I'm just going to get into a little run, because I need to like finish this. And I started running. And I was like, and then I started overtaking. So there was another event which started at the same place. I think it might have been the 32 miler. But they were all passing me, which was getting me a bit frustrated. I don't know why, because I was back running, but it was just the fact that I had people passing me who had started like literally maybe an hour or two after. That's how long it took me to get up. And I got into like a good rhythm. And then I went down the Dragon's Back then again. I thought I could carry on, but the 100 mile it's important to me. It's my third attempt. I've literally I got to finger myself for a change. I got to the checkpoint. Steve, do you know Steve Dalton? Steve was there. Kaz, they both completed the Wildhorse 200 this year. Fair play to him. They were there on the checkpoint, and he was like, "What's the matter?" I was like, "I'm done." So I got a lift back. And I was having a laugh then. I was like, I must be the only back runner to DNF an event. But luckily they had I can't think of the woman's name now, but she does the sports massages for the runners. So straight away she got in and she was like, Jesus, is that hurting? I was like, well, it's a bit tender. She was like, it's kicking back at me, like you're literally, like your glutes and everything are twitching. So luckily I had treatment of it straight away.
Yeah.
And oh bloody hell. Yeah, so I spent the day then. I just stayed there for a while, seen a lot of people finish. So 5 weeks leading up to the Epona, couldn't run. I was in the gym. I was just doing a bit of upper body strength. I did get on the bike and just try and maintain my fitness. I wasn't really having any issues. I was having intense treatment by GTD Sports Therapy, who have been amazing to me. I will get onto them in a bit. I started to do a bit of the Stairmaster, which I've never done before, just to see if I started to get any back spasms, and I could feel a little bit in the glutes, but I was fine. And I had a decision to make, and I thought, well, do I defer it till next year? And I was like, no, I need to do it. Like, the fear of not trying just outweighed the fear of, well, not the fear, but just maybe the disappointment of like having to DNF it. I thought, well, unless I try, I'm not going to know. So, yeah, I got to the start line, started off, and it's straight to Bill. I was with Annetta, the one I met on the Vogum for a bit. Straight into the climb up Sugarloaf. Felt a bit of a twinge in my glutes, but nothing. Fine. Got to the top, started making the descent, managed to get into quite a good pace, felt okay, but I skipped breakfast for some reason. I don't know why, I just completely forgot, which is not like me. I normally eat before a race. Literally was doing okay, done a good pace, started coming down, I think it was through Monmouth Golf Course, which is heading the opposite way of the GB Ultras Beacons Way. So you're heading down into Abergavenny. And I was starving. I literally, I was like, oh my God, I've never been this hungry in I don't know how long. So I was like running, and there was a guy doing it. He was 70 years of age, and he just randomly picked the 100 miler because he wanted something to do on his 70th birthday. And Reese had, in the briefing on the Friday, obviously introduced him. And then he just literally come running up beside me. So I was talking to him for a bit, and I was like, happy birthday. And he just run off and left me. And I was like, wow. This 70-year-old guy, but you could see he'd been running for years. Fair play to him. Off he went. And I was that hungry. I was running past the shops, and I could see people outside having breakfast and stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to stop in the shop and get something to eat. And I thought, hang on a minute, there's going to be a checkpoint down there. So eventually got to the checkpoint. Lisa was volunteering on there, and Tej. I got into the checkpoint. Lisa was going to me, slow down. I rammed 2 bananas straight into me. I said, can you make me a pot noodle? I had a packet of crisps while I was waiting for the pot noodle. Then there was a woman in the corner making fresh pizza. She come over, put it in front so it was warm. Oh, mate, I'd never tasted anything like it. I smashed 10 slices of it, right? And I couldn't get it into me fast enough. And Lisa and Tej were like, Rich, slow down because you're going to get And I was like, ah. So I had that, the pot noodle, a handful of salted peanuts, a packet of crisps, like I said, and half a jam donut. Then she swilled out because I lost, I don't know what I did with my cup, my plastic cup, but I didn't have it with me. So she swilled out the pot noodle, filled it up with Coke, smashed that. But every time I looked round, there was people just laughing because they were just watching me eat. So off I went then, and it was flat. So I just thought, well, I'll just walk for a bit, it doesn't matter. And that sunk in then, because I think I did the first 13.5 miles in about 3 hours, maybe, I think. 3 hours 30, which is pretty good. And I thought, hang on a minute, you're doing an 100 mile a year. It doesn't really matter, it sort of clicked. So I walked, and then we got to the Bollinge. Oh my God, I'd never done that before, but it wasn't the climb, it was because it was enclosed and it was just no air, and it affected my chest a little bit, but I was sweating going up there. Eventually got through there up to the top. I just randomly stopped. There was an old couple in their 80s just out having a stroll, and they were like, oh, what are you doing? And I'll just stop and speak to anyone, me. And so I had a little chat with them, and they were like, oh, fair play. And I was like, yeah. So I got to go. Started walking again, and I thought, right, we've flattened off a bit now. I need to get into a little bit of a running pace. So I took about 3 steps. Just felt myself go. And luckily, just at the last second, I managed to twist my body, so I didn't face plant. So I had a little bit of a graze on my elbow, a little bit of a cut on my hand. I can't think of the guy's name now. We were in and out running for a while. He was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, we're alright. A little just shimmy in it.
That little shimmy after you've got into
twist, and you're there, yeah, I'm alright. So yeah, we picked up the pace then. Got down to checkpoint 2. That's where Kerry was then. He picked up my drop bag. So I had a crew from then. What did I have there? I couldn't eat anything after that because I was literally full. So that's when I took the Huel drinks, the ready to drink, and I had one of them. I thought I may as well just have one anyway. even though I didn't want to eat anything.
Yeah.
Just thought it's only liquid. Banged one of them into me. I think they got like 400, 500 calories.
Yeah, they're about 400 calories.
Yeah, I got protein in them as well. So took one of them, took off, and I think then about a couple of miles in, that's where I bumped into Sarah. And then we were going up towards the Lonely Shepherd. We did that section. I ran on a bit, and that's when my watch started playing up. And we literally just teamed up then. Got to the next checkpoint. She went on before me because I was having my feet done by then. I was blistered up really bad. And I heard about the famous foot spa. So I was like, can I have that? I was hungry again then. I think I had a pot noodle and a bacon sandwich and a cup of coffee. And I had my feet done. Sarah had run on. Kerry was outside. I think, yeah, Kevin done my feet there. Took off then. Managed to get into a little bit of a good pace going. Started overtaking people again. It's strange when you're doing long distance like that. You've got people who are running, and then you'll be walking for, like, power hiking for a while, and then you'll catch them up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how the hell did you took off like 10 minutes ago, you were gone. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh yeah, you okay? How you doing? How you feeling? And then I obviously caught up with Sarah again then. And we pretty much did the rest of the course together. But yeah, it was just, my body was fine. I was surprised, really surprised how well my body coped with doing the event. Obviously, I wasn't doing it at the pace I wanted to do it, but I just wanted to complete it. It was just like my third time. It's like, I'm not coming back next year. That's what I kept on telling myself every time I was like going through a real bad patch. I wasn't saying anything to anyone. I was just like battling my demons. And I was like, you're not coming back next year. Just keep on going. Just keep on going. Fuck your feet. It's your feet. So what? Like, it's only your feet. And I get signs all the time. Honestly, I can be... I'm getting off the point a bit, but it's just like when I'm struggling in certain events, I'll see someone with a prosthetic leg, maybe hiking or walking, and I'm like, why am I moaning about pain in my fucking feet or my legs? Like, look at this guy. Look at this woman. Just get on with it. And that's where it just clicks in my head and I think, right, just keep going. But coming down on the Epona, we come off, is it, I can't even think, something Hereford's Knob. Down to the checkpoint there, Kevin was there again, Kasha turned up with loads of energy. It was lovely to see her. Bear in mind we hadn't slept. We carried on going. I wouldn't say it was me who decided we weren't going to sleep, but there was two sisters who were like running in and out with us. And I just said to them, I said, if you don't feel like sleeping when we get to the sleep station, you've got a crew, just keep going because it's cooling down through the night time. So do as far as you can, and if you've got to sleep then tomorrow, where it's getting hot again, just have 20 minutes in the car. And they decided to carry on. Me and Sarah decided to carry on. And yeah, it worked out because I think it's office like, I'm not sure if it's Gospel Path, but Jesus Christ, the heat started getting to me. And we were going down. Eventually, it was quite a boring section for me because I don't like straight lines. And it was just, you could see, it was just like, it was like gravelly path, but like slabs here and there. And then we eventually come off there, and it's Lantoni Priory, is it? Coming off there, I was, like, the heat had got to me. Made it down to the checkpoint. I didn't collapse, but I sort of like just sort of got on the floor. And Sarah's pacer come over and just like grabbed my legs, because I'm not sure if he thought I'd collapsed or whatever, and like started like lifting my legs up, and I was like, I need my feet done again. Kevin wasn't there, and they were like, there's no paramedics here, and I was like, I don't really want the paramedics, because fair play Kaz when I got the foot spar again, but this time it wasn't warm water, and I put my feet in it, and it was freezing cold, which was lovely on my feet, but it sort of sent me into some sort of like, not shock, but I started shivering. So I said to Carrie, quick get me a warm jacket to put on. So fair play, grabbed me a jacket, I warmed up a bit. I had something else to eat, and I just made the decision. I thought, right, we're way ahead of like the cut off. I'm just going to wait here for a bit, let the sun just go down, because I don't want to climb. It was another climb straight up into the Black Mountains. I think it was like 10 miles to go. Yeah. I thought, it doesn't matter now. Like, it's just, I got to finish here. I come around, I was fine. I had a little bit of like a pot, not noodle, a mug shot pot or something. I had that. Kaz made me some squash. And then Kev just come out of nowhere, and he was doing my feet. Kerry started doing them first of all, and then Kevin come along, and he took care of my feet for me again. And like I said, the paramedics had turned up by then, and I could see their face for some reason. They were both looking at each other like as if to say, and I was like, "What's like?" I obviously can feel them, but I'm not. I can't. I'm stiff now. I'm not hurting, but I'm like, I am stiff, so I can't. I couldn't lift my legs up to see. I didn't really want to look anyway, but I knew they were bad. And I could see them looking at each other as if to go say, like, I don't know whether they were just thinking I was mad because like the state they were in, and I was carrying on. Yeah. And what did Kev say? He said, "Someone go and get my tin and get me the mana pill." I loved that. Like, that sort of, like, give me that, like, just put my fucking socks back on. I got 10 miles to go. Nice one, mate. Like, I needed, that's exactly what I needed at that time. And, just off I went. And it was straight up another climb. And that was when I had my first hallucination. I'd had a couple of things before where you like, is that? And then you get, oh, no, it's not. But this one was like, I was thinking to myself, what the fuck is a camper van doing on this mountain? And I could see the reflection. It was a T5. That's how clear it was. It was a T5 camper van. And I could see the reflection. And I'm not sure if I blurted it out, what the fuck is a camper van doing on this mountain? And I think Sarah looked round at me and a pacer and said something, and I was like, and I got a bit closer, and it was a bush. So that was but you know what, I was always looking forward to that. I was always looking forward to hallucinating. I don't know why. Maybe it's something to do with my past, like a natural hallucination. Don't get better than that. So I started getting a lot of messages come through then. And my pacer, Di, who was going to obviously pace me, his girlfriend's pregnant and she was ill, and he had to take her to hospital, so he couldn't turn up. And he was meant to be giving me a lift home. And he'd FaceTime me, and he was like, we must have been, I don't know how many miles out. I think they said it was 10 miles, right, from that checkpoint to the finish, but it wasn't. It was longer than that, I'm sure it was. But anyway, I started getting messages come through. My niece was messaging me, going, "Come on, you blah blah blah," and I was like, sending it back. And I had that buzz then. It was like I got lifted up. Died FaceTime me, and he was like, "You're almost there," and I was like, "I know, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe it. Like, yeah." Fuck, Then Sugarloaf come again, right at the end. I was like, I don't know, I have to fucking strangle Reese. Never mind give him the hug at the end. And that was tough. going up there. I normally rely on gels as well. But where I had all that food at the beginning, I didn't have any gels all the way through that 100 miler until I got to the bottom. And I didn't need it, I don't think, but I just thought to myself, I'm taking a gel because I got to climb. You see that sign where it says something like 3 point, whatever it is, kilometers up?
Yeah.
And I was like, just get a gel. So I took a gel. Off we went, got to the top. I got a bit cold, so I thought I'd put a top on. And Sarah and a pacer, I think his name was John. Apologies if I got his name wrong. And then they took off, and then I put my top off, followed them down, and yeah, we finished. I just stood there for a bit with my hands on my head and a smile on my face. But I was tired by that stage. Like I was literally, my eyes were closing, coming down off Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
And luckily Sarah turned round and went, "Tree." Otherwise I would have clotheslined myself, because I was like going like this, and when I opened my eyes, she was like ducked underneath this branch. So that was close. But yeah, it was a relief to finish it. But I didn't have that feeling I thought I was going to have. I wasn't satisfied.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what it was. I think it was the tiredness and the fact that I was buzzing so much with all the messages, and it was, don't get me wrong, I was buzzing, but it wasn't. I've manifested it and visualized finishing 100 miles, and I've gone through every emotion, and I just didn't have the emotion of what I had in my head. It was just, I think it was like, whew, you've done it. Like, I wasn't flat, but I was just tired. It was the tiredness. I think it took us, like 43 hours, 40 odd minutes of like non-stop. So it was, well, no, you know what I mean, no sleep. And yeah, Kerry then was going to have to give me a lift home, and I was like, because I wasn't panicking, see, because I said to my mate, don't worry about me, because he was worried. He was like, I'm so sorry, I can't give you a lift home and whatever. And I was like, listen, don't worry, Kerry will have to give me a lift. And I was thinking about, well, Kerry lives in the opposite direction, but he'll have to just crash in my house, and then, because he'd been up for the same amount of time as me. Yeah. I don't think he had slept. And then I didn't realise, like I said, Kevin lived in Kitey, and he was like, I'll give you a lift. I was like, oh, fantastic. Happy days. But I had to wait then, though. Obviously, I think it was till about maybe I think it was about 4, because it took us a while to get home. I think I got home about either 5:30 in the morning on the Monday. My dad was up, and that's when it kicked in then. Obviously, going in to see him, and he was like, my niece had already messaged him and said, like, I'm going to get a bit emotional now. He's almost at the end. So that was nice, talking to him. Tried to sleep, and this is where Lee comes back into the mix. Like I said, I can't sleep. Have I already spoke about this?
Yeah.
I've already said this story, have I? Thank God for that. Yeah, but that was emotional, like speaking to my dad, like it was just. But he'd already spoke to my niece earlier on, and he said, when you message him, tell him I'm so proud of him. To be honest with you, it was special, because he knows what I've been through.
Yeah.
He's been there every step of my life, and that's why I'll never leave him. We finished that. Obviously I had to take, I think, 8 weeks off, because I picked up stress fractures. Did have an MRI scan. I think it was about 6 weeks after that come back clear. But they picked up that there was some sort of damage to my toe, big toe. Sort of probably from football maybe years ago, or just probably kicking a few rocks in there. Just wear and tear, they said. But I don't get a problem with that anyway. So I've been off, and just trying to get back into it now. Yeah. But I hit a bit of a low. I was completely burned out. I just couldn't get out of bed. I even phoned my gym up and said cancel my membership. And luckily, I had an email back saying, look, we'll give you a free month. We'll put your gym membership on hold. And if you feel like you want to come back, come back. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was really struggling. I was even contemplating just giving it all up. I was like, I've had enough. But I'd already planned, like in my head, after the 100, it was like, what's your next step? It's 200. Didn't know whether to do the wild horse, but I really had my heart set on doing the Dragon's Back. But that would have been new to me anyway, because running consecutive days for 6 days would have been something else I would have had to get used to doing, because I don't really run every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, Dad became ill actually before the 100 miler. I basically had a random phone call. He went to the doctors for some routine bloods. He's already got health issues anyway, and I had a phone call to say I need to come and pick him up from the doctors and take him up to the hospital. So I was a bit panicky. But yeah, I took him into hospital. Now I think he's got heart failure, bradycardia, I think he got. Yeah, that was just before the Epona, so that was in the back of my mind. I need to do it for him as well. Yeah, it was surreal really when I got back talking to him. I think it all it was just, he was so proud. I was proud of myself, but more importantly was the fact that I'd made him proud. He was proud of me anyway, but knowing what I've been through and the life I led, it wasn't all bad, but I still pinch myself now. I just don't know how. Sitting here it's blowing my mind, because I couldn't, at one point in my life, I couldn't even go out the front door, couldn't leave the house, just couldn't get out at all. Yeah. But since the ultra running, my life's completely changed. I'm running as well. I've got my little running family, but they're road runners. But I helped them quite a lot, and they're amazing. There's a group of them. I went down to Philindra, castle to castle, on Sunday to see them finish. Emma had cancer, I think it was over a year ago, similar to calf breast cancer, and she did the event, so it was amazing just to see how far she's come. And they don't realise how much inspiration I get from them, because they're all older than me. And yeah, I always go for meals with them and stuff like that, and so my life has changed quite a lot. Well, quite a lot. Jesus Christ, it's changed. It couldn't be any different. It's the opposite end of the spectrum, sort of thing.
It's just amazing how you've gone from drinking and drugs and then being massively overweight to then starting running, doing 5Ks. Now you're doing 100 miles and you've signed up for a 200 miler. It honestly blows my mind.
It's still blowing my mind. I mean, my dad, when I walked in the other day, so the reason I signed up to do the 100 miler was because, like I said, I was going for that bad patch, and I was like, I need really something to focus on. I need a purpose, basically, because my purpose was always my dad. And I thought, well, once he goes, what the hell am I gonna, like, what's my purpose in life? Like, I got nothing. I needed to do something and find a way of getting a life, because he was always worried about if anything happens to him, where I'm going to end up. I think he thought I'm going to go back off the rails. And I think part of my journey has always been to show him that, you know, on his deathbed or whatever, I know it sounds stupid, but he can go away peacefully knowing that I'm going to be okay. Yeah, it's insane. So I sort of had a bit of bad news as well. So one of the girls who, because I changed gyms recently as well, for a few various reasons I won't go into, and I ended up going over to Snap Fitness. I think you do training.
Yeah, so I'm a PT at Snap Fitness.
PT and Snap. I seen your stories earlier, and I could see you training a few people. Yeah. So yeah, I joined Snap in Bridgend, and it was a lot better because it's 24 hours. So when I'm in my routine, like, I don't need an alarm clock. It's like 5 o'clock-ish every morning. I'll just wake up. So I was always waiting to try and get into my other gym, and it closes early on the weekends and stuff like that. And to be honest, it was like more of a social place. But one of the girls, Lauren, God bless her. So I was helping her, but never got round to getting out to run so we could have a proper chat about stuff. And I'm not sure how many weeks after the Epona, one of the lads, Brandon, picked me up from, who works as a gym instructor in Halo. We went out for a coffee, and after he said, "Oh, did you hear about Lauren?" And I was like, my heart sunk. I thought he was going to say she stopped herself, but she didn't. She got murdered. 22 years of age, by a boyfriend, apparently. So her new boyfriend she had. Killed her and killed himself. So I ended up going back down to see a few people, obviously the week or two after that. And I just thought, snap out of this fucking thing you're in. And then Lisa, I know, wanted to do the Epona 100. Well, she signed up to do the Epona 100. And I'd already said to her, look, I'll stop panicking, stop worrying, just go out and do your training. I'll pace you, I'll crew you, and I'll pace you from 50 miles. And I just thought, why don't you just run it with her? So I went on the site, but it was sold out. So I contacted Reese, and he said, yeah, it is sold out. He said, but I'll get a place for you. So yeah, I signed up for that. And then I watched Kevin on your podcast, and he was mentioning the wildhorse 200, and literally I stopped watching the podcast and got off and thought, fuck it, like, life's too short. And I signed up to do that. So we're going for the 200.
Amazing.
Well, I'm going to give it everything I got. I've learned quite a lot. See, like, I know I can go quite long distances, and I can do without sleep because I'm an insomniac anyway, which has got a lot better over the years. But because I constantly out for days and partying, and so it's sort of, that's the only plus side to being an insomniac. I don't need sleep. So my plan is, I don't plan often, right? But for the 200, I'm just going to keep going and going and going until I gotta sleep. Yeah. So if I can make it, I want to be able to, obviously I know I can do 100. Well, it was, my watch clocked, I know Jenk said it was around about 103 miles. Something like that. Mine was just under 107. But obviously I had to send that watch back after, and my official time was 43, but on my watch was saying 44. So yeah, I'm not sure. But Sarah's phone and watch had run out at one stage as well, coming up to the halfway point before she charged it, so I couldn't get a thing off her, but obviously I go off the official time. So I know I can pretty much do that again. In my head now, I know I could do that again. Yeah. But the reason I knew I could do that, and the reason now I know I can put up with so much pain, dive from the gym, the one who's going to pace me, never run more than 20 miles. He's young, he's 23, 24. Top lad. Real grounded lad. So I was like getting him into doing ultras in the staff and stuff. So we were looking at the Celtic Ultra, and he'd moved from my steg to Margam. Now their ultra has always gone from Margam and ended up in, I think it's somewhere in Aberdare, Dare Valley, is it, or something like that. So I said, right, we'll do that. Do you want to do that? I said, because it's right by your house. I said, wouldn't that be cool for you to run from there? I said, don't have to travel. But later on in the year, I was getting battered. Like, my body was starting to, like, really, really hurt. So I went, die. He was like, yeah. I said, there's a 50 miler. It's called the Black Beacons. He was like, yeah. I said, can you do this? Like, let's do this one. I said, because I don't think I'm going to make, like, November, I think, or December, that event was. And this one was in September. I was like, come on, sign up. And he did. Fair play. And the reason I wanted to do it, because it started at 11 o'clock in the night. Now, I never finish a 50 miler, because I'm not a fast runner. I've never finished a 50 miler in the light. So, like, that's been a goal of mine now, really. It's like, I want to finish it in the light. So, signing up for this one was linear. So, we started off in Haybuth and finished in Waterfall Country in Neath. And there was, I don't know if you know this event, it's next week. They do 100-mile, it's insane. It's like an out and back. It's like 7,000 odd meters of elevation. Yeah. And they got 36 hours to complete it. 36, yeah. It's like, it's a tasty one. And I think to be able to do the 100 on that, you've got to be a quick runner, strong in the mountains, and nothing, you can't have anything go wrong. I know one guy, Darren, who I volunteered with not so long ago, he completed the 100. I think I met John Ayres on that 50 as well. So I did the 50 miler. So I thought, right, there's no problem. We'll start off in the night, 11 o'clock. I'm going to finish this one in the day. 16 miles in. We were running with Kasha for a bit. We run on. Got lost by the Dragon's Back again, but it was night time. And I could see lights a little bit further up, and I'm trying to look at my watch again, and it's just going, and I could see the lights, and I thought, right, well, they're up there, let's walk up there. And then they were coming down, and it ended up being Kasha and another guy. Then we figured it out then. It was like, literally, we had to go the opposite way down the Dragon's Back. And the climb after that, it was the most horrendous climb I've ever had. It just went on forever. And my chest played up again, because I get in the night time, if it's like that, you know, that fine mist, so it can play havoc with my chest. But everyone was falling, because it was compact, the mud. So a guy had fallen in front of me. I was like, "You okay?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Almost snapped my pole. I went, "Don't worry, I've snapped 2 sets of poles." And as I said that, I slipped because I got the lecky poles now. It stuck in and snapped. I was like, "Oh, fuck's sake." So I wasn't hurt, obviously. So as I was going then, my knees, I could feel my knees going. Now I've had the same problem on the Gower 50, and I DNF'd that as well. So I've missed the Gower 50 out. That was 2 years ago. And I had the same problem in my right knee, and that caused me to DNF. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I got to the checkpoint, and they were hurting, and I was like, "Is there a physio here?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I need my knees taped up." And he was like, "No, blah, 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 blah." But I couldn't see him because it was so dark, and it was a tent in the middle of nowhere, and they both had dry robes on. And one of them said something to me, so I got a broken pole. They're taping it up for me. This is quite a funny one, this one. Well, funny for me anyway. And the one guy turned around and said, "Stop fucking moaning," or something like that to me, and fucking just get on with it. Well, like, you'd think normally I'd get a bit offended by that, and I just went, "Do you know what, he's fucking right, isn't he? Fuck it, come on." Off I went again. But it got to the stage where, like, every single step was excruciating pain, and I thought, I got to keep on going. It's Di's first ultra. So anyway, we got to the halfway point, which was in Langanida, yeah, in the centre there. I think I had about 5 or 6 hot dogs in there, soup. Di sort of fell asleep, but he didn't fall asleep. And then we went off, and I was like, there's this thing, the Goggins thing, taking the piss out of each other. Who's going to carry the boats and all that? So we're doing this to be like just running along, and I'm going, "Pain is my friend." And I'm getting into a run, and I'm going, "Nah, is it fuck? That's it. I'm not running." And Di saying, "Look, you may as well power hike because your hiking's just as fast as you're trying to run." So anyway, Kerry had come into the checkpoint as we were leaving. Kasha had gone, like she'd gone. Luckily, I had it was mandatory anyway to carry a spearhead torch. Excuse me. And both her torches are gone, so I had to borrow her. Well, I didn't have to, but I did. My head torch. So she'd gone, and then Kerry was coming down off Torrefall, and I was like, "Dad, Di, I'm holding on to Di." Every step, and I'm like, "Oh, fucking hell, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to do this." So Kerry passed me and Di on coming off Torrefall. He was looking strong, and he was like, "You alright?" I was like, "Some serious pain." He was like, "Go on, you can do it." And I was like, "Go on, cry on, you're smashing this." Eventually, we were coming down off there, coming up to the same checkpoint now I DNF'd on the Beacons Way. And I've hit this, it's daylight, and I'm looking up at Craigie Vandy, and I'm going, just staring. Di's going, "What are you doing?" And I was like, just vacant. I was done. I hadn't bonked, whatever they call it, when you've got no energy, but I was low. I was thinking, just get to the checkpoint. Got to the checkpoint, but I was looking up, and I was thinking, the voices is like, "You can't do this, you can't do this. Look, what are you doing? Look, what are you doing this to yourself for? Like, you're in absolute agony. Like, you should be DNFing this." I was like, "No, get to the checkpoint." Get to the checkpoint. I've walked into a big tent, army tent. I've gone in. I've seen a plate of pizza in the corner. So I've just headed for that. So I've literally doing the same again like I did on the Epona. I just stood there, and I'm not as fast, mind, but I'm eating the pizza. And we'd taken pot noodles with us in the drop bag. So that was where our drop bag was. Anyway, I've eaten the pizza, come out, I've taped my own legs. I've tried to like do a DIY job on my legs, tried to do my pole again, ready for the climb. I'd come around. The medic, we just had a little bit of a laugh with the medics and a few of the volunteers. So changed. I think I changed. I'm not sure if I changed my. I always change my. I definitely changed my socks, but I'm not sure if I put another pair of trainers on. And off we went. I was alright then. I perked up. I thought, right, okay, let's go. But this time I was in pain going uphill. Normally, when my knees go, it's like overuse from doing probably too much through the year and not strength training. So it was painful going up. But I thought, I just gotta, like, they haven't pulled me out. They haven't said I'm, like, I'm missing the cut-offs or anything like that. So we went round, and it was a struggle because full well it's like you got to go down cribbing, and it's just every downhill is just excruciating pain. So we managed to do that section. Then the next checkpoint was Story Arms. So coming down off Corndy, down to Story Arms, and then you got the Carmarthenshire vans, and I had the same again. But I was sort of starting to fall asleep. And the reason being, I thought on the Thursday I'd stay up all night and sleep Friday day to start in the night, and I didn't sleep. So I'd basically been up since 5 o'clock on the Thursday.
Yeah.
And then started the race then at 11 o'clock on a Friday. So I'm dropping again, but I'm looking up at the next thing going, fucking hell, man. Like, you can't do this. So I eventually got to the checkpoint. And I can remember saying to Di, you might have to edit this out, but I was cursing the guy out, in the one who wouldn't take my legs, my knees, saying, fucking prick, blah, 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 blah. Really, like, not having a complete meltdown, but I was tired, and I was like, fucking, if it was the normal physio, he's brilliant, right? So anyway, we get to the checkpoint. Di's gone over on his ankle now, so he's having his sorted out. And then someone said, then I sees the guy who I know is their physio, right? And he's brilliant. And I was like, oh, thank God now he's here. And he went, do you want your knees done, Rich? And I was like, yeah. He's like, sit down. So I'm sat there. I said, yeah. I said, that prick on checkpoint 2, I said, wouldn't fucking take my knees up the wanker. And he goes, it was me, Rich. But I was so, like, wired. I went, like, looked at Di and I said, oh, see, Di, look, I didn't know it was him. And I dug myself out of it quite well. And fair play, take my knees up, and off we went again. I think I smashed about 4 cans of Coke. Their checkpoints there were absolutely amazing. They had like cans of Red Bull, they had proper Coca-Cola, they had everything. So I think I had about 3 or 4 cans of Coke. I had, I think, a couple of bananas. 13 miles left. I'm sure he did say get a move on, because you literally got, I don't know how long it was to do the 13 odd miles to the finish. It was still light then, and the section of it takes you down into where the 4 waterfalls are, and you go behind one of them. I'm not sure what it's called. But I managed then, once you take my knees up, for some reason I managed to get into a bit of a jog going. So I picked up a bit of pace there. We come down then off the Van Leer, I think it is, I'm not sure. Dropped down, and then it was lanes. But by that time, Di, like, the funny part about this was, we're all wearing like 130, 40 pound trainers, right? And everyone's slipping. He's got a 40 pound pair of whatever they were from Sports Direct, and he hasn't slipped once. He's gone over on his ankle, but he hasn't like fallen once, and everyone has fallen who was in like a little group. But obviously by then he's in his own unknown territory, and he's never done more than 20 miles, and we're like literally 40 odd miles in. So he didn't like the tarmac, but I did, because like it was the same again. It was just I you know what I mean. I got that rhythm going, and he's like, so it was like run walk, run walk, run walk. Got to the checkpoint, loads of food again. Left there. Then I finished it. Something like 23 hours and 10 minutes. I was so buzzing because it was his first ultra, and I was buzzing, and I thought like, so I've learnt now that I've had 2 breakdowns, like mentally and physically, and I've been in a world of pain. And in my head, I thought, do you know this pain I've been through for almost, I think my watch showed just under 55 miles. I think it was 5 meters short of 55 miles on that event. And I didn't come last. Some guy come in before me, and I was thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, I don't know what happened to him. Like, I was surprised. I thought we were the last 2. There's a few people did drop out. I think stomach issues, because once you've got stomach issues and you can't eat, I think that's your game over then, isn't you? And I was buzzing, but I was like, fucking hell, like I haven't finished in the light again. But I was happy because it was a good race. So anyway, it was bugging me. But before I get on to the pizza story, I'd arranged, so my little running family, Jan and Mitch, they always run the Cardiff half marathon together. But Mitch, I think he'd had an hernia, and Jan didn't want to run it. And I was like, Jan, don't worry, I'll do it with you. It's the week after the 55 I've just done, right? And both my knees are fucked. But bear in mind, if I'm doing like an event, I can't train in between them. This is what I got to stop doing, is doing too many events at the minute, because I'm literally not training in between events. So I had the week off, and I thought, well, it's either going to go 2 ways, isn't it? I mean, I'm just pacing Jan, it's going to be a nice pace. We're going to chat. We're going to have a really good time. Went on the Cardiff half marathon. I was my left knee was fine, and I started having a little bit of an issue with my right coming up to, I think it was around Cathay Cemetery, going up the hill. Jan done absolutely amazing, without it knowing. So I was pacing it around about what she wanted to like go around, and then I sort of started picking it up without her realising it, coming around Roath Park. And I think the fastest kilometre I got her to run was like 5k, and it blew up bloody, like it was. I was like, do you realise like that was one of, and she was like, no. But I made her run that last, well, I didn't make her, but I was like running on, but every time I'd look round, she was still with me. So I thought, well, I'm not going to back off now, I'll just keep like gradually, and she got up the hills as well. I mean, they're not massive hills, but they are if you know what I mean. You know, you're not used to running. You know, this is a big deal. Got up, we finished. Amazing. Went for a nice meal after, and then, like a dickhead, I signed up to do the Gower Ultra again. But this time I wasn't doing the 50 miler, because the 50 miler I DNF'd, which was my first DNF. It was 16 or 18 miles of tarmac, and by the time I hit the trails, I was gone. But I seemed to be doing all right. There was a guy who lives by me, Stephen, and he turned up there, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's one of the road runners. He's like, I'm doing the 50. I was like, what? Like, just as bad as me, you're just like doing a 50-mile ultra for your first one. I was like, he's a fairly strong road runner, so I was like, come on then, we'll run together. But he was suffering, he suffers with a lot of cramp. And he suffered quite a lot with cramp on that event. And when we got down to, it'll be part of the section where it'll be on the Wildhorse 200. So you go round the estuary, and you pick up then the coastal path. And it's just bog. Like, it's just thick mud. And I just heard him scream behind me, and I was like, what's the matter? I thought like he'd literally broken his leg or something, but it was just, he was stuck in the mud, but it was like his whole leg had cramped up. But he carried on going, fair play to him. And we were an hour and a half ahead of the cut-off when we got to... It was the one before Rasili. I was like, okay, so stopped, had something to eat. Off we went again, and I was like... We got to the next one at Rasili, and I thought I need to roll my feet, because I like to roll my feet on a ball, and I also like to give them a bit of an airing sometimes. And as I was doing it, the physio I was on about just now said, listen, you need to get, like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just going to roll the balls on my feet. And he was like, no, you need to be out of here in 5 minutes. I was like, what? He's like, you've got to get out here now, like, it's near enough, the cut-off. And I was like, how the hell have we just lost? We were an hour and a half up on the last checkpoint. Of course, I've gone like that. Right, I'm running on. So off I went. And I got into a bit of a pace, and I could feel my knee starting to slightly go. And it was quite wet in sections of it, so it was sort of... Do you know where you get like coastal path, but then you've got like mud, but like the stones sticking out of it, but not stone, like pebbles. Yeah. And I come too quick round the corner, and I just slipped and just went straight down. Literally just hurt my knee there. I managed to get up. I carried on for about another 2 miles, and that got to the point where I was like, no, I can't walk. And so I sat there, and like I said, the ultra running community, amazing. Some guy come past me, and he was like, oh, do you want my poles? And I went, well, let me try them. So I got his poles, and I was like, oh, thanks very much, mate. I said, but go on. I said, I just can't. I said, I'm going to sit here. So I did the same again, took my pack off, ate all the food in there. Stephen come past me, and he was like, do you want me to stop? I said, no, mate. You carry on and try and get to the next checkpoint. Try and get to the cut-off. It's your first ultra. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. There's a woman, Di. She was brilliant. We had a right laugh, me and her. She was the same. I was like, she said, well, I'm not going to make the check. She said, I'm not going to make it. She said, do you want me to stay with you? I said, no, just try. Just try. And I sat there, and I was like, I've eaten all my food. I've had another painkiller. I was like, who's going to come and get me here? I'm like, literally nowhere on the coastal path. It's like, I think I'm halfway in between this checkpoint and that checkpoint. So in the end, I thought, oh, fuck this. I just got up and just hobbled on. And I thought, I'm going to make the checkpoint. Bumped into, I remembered his name. Do you know Adrian Giles? Used to be like a presenter on TV, like Match of the Day. I think he was on the One Show.
Okay, no, I don't know him.
He's he's an English bloke. He married a Welsh girl, so he lives down here. And I bumped into him, but I was like, I didn't know his name. I couldn't remember his name at the time. And he was like, you all right? Because I was limping. He was like, you all right? He was walking his dog. I was like, well, not really, not really, but I'm carrying on. He was like, oh, well, I can't really give you anything apart from dog biscuits. But he's got like a real stern face. So I was like, you're that guy off the telly, aren't you? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what's your name? And he told me. So I carried on going. And anyway, and I managed to get myself probably, it must have been about 2 miles away from the checkpoint. And I was just sat down. And by that time, obviously, the guys who were had passed me had said, look, he's injured. He's there. Like, that's where he is. So, I was so humbled. There was, as I was sat there, I was just having a little rest. There was, mum, dad, kids, grandparents. And they walked up to me and said, oh, are you the runner who's injured? I was like, yeah. They were like, right, we just spoke to you, mate. I was like, okay. She said, come with us. She said, we got a cottage by there. You can come in. We'll make you something to eat. And we'll arrange to get you picked up. And I was like, wow. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I said, thank you so much. I said, that's amazing. And like, thank you, couldn't thank him enough. And I was like, I need to make that checkpoint. I got to make it now. I've come this far. But what a thing to happen in there is like, they would have never got rid of me. I would have been like, can I have a bath? Can you have something to eat? Coffee? Oh, that would have been funny. But yeah, so I managed to get to the checkpoint then, and Di had got timed out, that woman. And obviously then we got the medics then to take us back to the finish. But on the way to the finish, but Andrew had got timed out. Stephen had got timed out, but he decided to carry on. I thought, well, fair play. Like, he wants just to, he don't care about the medal, just wants to complete it. And who gets in the back of the medics van, like a Land Rover. Now the painkillers have kicked in now, so I'm a bit, but I'm like just 100 miles an hour. But we're having a right laugh. So there's this guy I never met, Di, this woman, me, and then we've had to go and pick this girl up who forgot to take her medication and she was quite bad. So they've gone to pick her up, and then decided that they were going to go and drop her off home. So I'm like, okay, and bless her, like, I'm being quite loud now. And Di was running with her husband, and he ran off and left her. So I was like having a laugh, going, oh, he's horrible, isn't he, leaving you, and blah blah blah. But she was laughing. So this is like the joke carried on then when we were in the back of this medics van. This poor girl's out of it in the front. So he decided to take her home, but it went past the finish, and I was just like still in agony. I was thinking to myself, I wasn't being selfish, but I was just thinking, you've taken her to the other side of Swansea and dropped her to her house, which was nice. Don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to get that back to the finish. But yeah, we got back there, and that was my first DNF, but I just didn't care. Like, that didn't even affect me at all, one bit. I was like, I'm not bothered at all. But last October, I dropped down to the 34, and that was lovely. That was straight onto the trails and the same route round. And Kasha, same again. She overtook me. Not that I'm in a race with anyone, but she's amazing. She just plods on and on and on and on. Do you follow her on social media?
I do, yeah.
Oh, man, she doesn't stop.
She is a machine.
Honestly, all the time I'm just like, yeah, you're there. You're like, I see her down the coast all the time because we live quite close to each other. And she did offer actually today, when she seen my post on Instagram for the Wild Horse 200, she was like, I'll run a bit of it with you. And I was like, oh, if you could please, because I just love her company anyway, and she's always smiling, and that's the type of person you want to be with you. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'll try and persuade her to do quite a bit of at least one of the sections with me, maybe later on in the race. So that pizza, I'll get back to the pizza story now. So on the Gower Ultra, it's been bugging me for 2 weeks now, thinking the pizza was quite warm. Right, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I hope I haven't eaten someone's pizza now, because that didn't belong on the checkpoint. I'd realised a couple of days after, and I was like, oh, it's bugging me. I hope it wasn't a competitor who was feeling like me, and one of their family have brought my pizza, and they're looking forward to that pizza when they get to that checkpoint, and some prick has eaten it. But on the Gower Ultra I did in October, the 34, I was at checkpoint 3, which was the checkpoint I DNF'd at. And some guy went to me, you ate my pizza. And I looked at him, but he didn't say it in a horrible way. He was like quite friendly about it. And I was like, do you know what, mate? Thank you so much. That absolutely saved my life because I was gone. And he was like, it's all right, mate, no problem. I was like, oh, what a cool guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he just didn't have a bad bone in his body. His name's Matt, by the way. Respect, Matt. So he's obviously gone on a bit, and I got more questions then. I'm thinking, well, if he knows I've eaten his pizza, was he stood there watching me doing it? So I caught back up with him, and I was like, Matt, I said, did you see me eat your pizza? And he was like, yeah. I was like, did you say anything? And he said, yeah. And I thought, oh no, what have I said? I said, did I say anything? He said, no, mate. He said, you didn't say a fucking word. He said, you were gone. Literally out of it. He said, and I even made your pot noodle for you. I was like, mate, what a come here. I wanted to give him a hug and everything. I was like, what a guy. But I've seen him a few times since, and yeah, that was the pizza story.
It's amazing that you was just eating his pizza.
Yeah,
He's watched you do it, and then he's like, I'll make him a pot noodle as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what a top guy. But he said, oh, it's all right. I made another one after. I said, oh, so you weren't running then? He was like, no, I was volunteering. I was like, oh, thank God for that, because I was worried it was a runner's pizza. And I said, what was on there, by the way? I said, because it was lovely. He said, oh, it was a breakfast one. He said it was like bacon, black pudding. I was like, I don't even like black pudding. But it was lovely, I got to be fair. And then he was saying about the Celtic then. He said, oh, if you do the Celtic, he said, I got, was it turkey and cranberry there? He said, I'll leave some out for you. And I was like, what a top guy. Well, that was the pizza story. That was funny. But it went on a bit, that pizza story. Because when I seen Die then, I think it was like the week after. So I did 3 events, one after another. And I was gone, and after the October, I had to take a break. So I went in and seen Die in Halo, and I was like, Die, I found out whose pizza it was. I was telling the story. And they got a lot of GP referral people in there who, like, they do courses for people with Parkinson's and, people coming back from hip replacements, whatever. I can't remember her name now. I haven't been there that long. So I was telling Di about the pizza and whatever, and she was, oh, my friend was doing that the other day, and I was like, oh, was he? And she started flicking through her phone, and she was, that's him there, and I was like, fucking hell, it's only Matt. It's the guy who's Pete, like the story I'm telling Di and you're listening to. It's like, that's your mate's pizza. But yeah, it's a big world, but it's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's mental.
So yeah, this year now I've sort of snapped out of my thing. My energy's back, but I've got to try and not go and sign up for anything this year. They do want me to run the Cardiff half marathon with them, which I probably could do, but I haven't got a place. There's always one spare going all the time, but I'm going to try not to. So I'm volunteering Sunday for the Black Beacons.
Okay.
I'm going to volunteer there. I think then I'm at Limitless the week after, I think. I'm not back running. I'd probably just work on one of the aid stations or at the finish and just eat all day. Start and the finish. But yeah, I'm just going to try and get into the gym now, do some strength training, build up slowly. But that's my hardest thing to do, is to try and, because my head wants to go. My head would like, I'd go and do a thing tomorrow, but it's just my body at the minute needs a bit of a rest, and I know to do 200 miles I have to be better. I have to work twice as hard, because I winged the 100. I got to be fair, but it worked out. Like, my body must have needed that 5 weeks rest, even though I didn't rest. It wasn't complete rest, but it was, I wasn't pushing myself up in the mountains. And I was looking at Instagram and which is the worst thing to do, I suppose. I'm not a jealous person, not jealous of anyone. I love to see people succeed. I absolutely love it. And I was like, I think it was John Ayres was like flying through the mountains. I think Jenks was like flying, and I was like, Jesus Christ, look at these guys, they're doing this, that and the other. And Smicky, who won it, yeah. Respect to him, respect Smick, in an insane time of 25 hours, whatever it was. How the hell did you do that, mate? Drug tested, that's why I want you. But yeah, fair play to him. And I was like, how the hell am I going to do this 100 miler? I haven't like these guys are flying. But I just thought, I'm not the fastest, so I'm not competitive with anyone else, but with myself. It's all about me, and it's all about the challenge, and it's all about overcoming and dealing and making friends with my demons. That's what I like to say, Not trying. There was a saying I used to lock them away and live above them. But now they're my friends. Because sometimes I fucking need them demons when I'm in a dark place.
Yeah.
I need them.
They're powerful, aren't they?
Yeah, man, I need that. I need that. Like, I need that. Do you know what I mean? It gets me, keeps me going. Yeah, it keeps me going. So I'm excited for next year. And I've got the opponent then, obviously, I think it's 4 weeks after. But, I mean, what? You don't know until you try. I don't know. Am I capable of doing 200 miles? We'll soon find out.
Yeah.
If I can make the start line, then it'll take a lot for me not to finish. Do you know what I mean? It'll take a lot. It'll take a lot. But, you know, it's whether it's a decent cut off as well, isn't it? I mean, well, you've got 5 days to complete it. I think it's just a matter of keep on moving. So the only plan I've got for that is just try and go as far as I can without sleeping. And if I can, because I found on the Epona, I was fine, not even sitting down and eating at the checkpoints. I was alright. I wasn't struggling to get up, like, and get going. But as soon as I stopped at the end, I went, everything seized up, and I was like walking really, you know, everything had just. So I'm thinking on the 200, I don't want to sleep. I don't really want to sleep the whole I want to try and do it without sleeping.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I want to try and do it without sleeping if I can, but I'm not going to be stupid.
Yeah.
You know, if I need to sleep, because obviously you've got to take your safety into account, and not only that, it's an event, and you don't want to put anyone else in having to come out and, you know, rescue you because you've been a knob. But yeah. So how did you get on with you probably spoke about it with the guests on your podcast. I'm fascinated to find out what you've got next coming up. And
okay,
obviously world record attempt. I mean, that's just flipping a tyre for, like, what you say was 14 hours?
15 hours, managed 6 miles.
People actually run like 50 miles in that time. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like a normal average for, like, most people. Some people do it in crazy times, don't they? So, Jesus Christ. So, what are you going to try again, or?
Oh, it's in my head, because the official. I know I was telling everyone, like, I want to do a marathon. Like, that's what was in my head, and there was no time limit to that. I was like, I just want to keep going till I've done a marathon, because that's what I've signed up to do. The closer and closer it got to the event, the more unrealistic I knew that was going to be. Like, I massively underestimated how hard flipping a tyre for that distance is. But the world record for flipping a tyre in 24 hours is 7 miles. So I was a mile off the world record, and I had 9 hours to spare. And that's just, like, devastated me, because, like, my slowest mile to that point was 3 hours. And I was like, I could have at least got another 3 miles in, like, beating the world record. But
the format was different with the guy from, was it America, who did it? Because he slept, didn't he? He sleep.
So that was a guy that did a marathon with it. But the guy that's got the world record, yeah, he just 24 hours.
Oh, 24 hours, right. So have you got anything else planned?
I want to revisit that, because I was so close, but currently just rehabbing my arm. I then ran the Rhythm.
Yeah, how did you get on with that?
The first half I was doing really well. I was, like, on pace for, like, a 5:40 finish, and I was like
5:40.
Yeah, so I was on pace for a 5:40 finish, and I was like, I'm going somewhere. Like my goal was sub 6. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going some, considering I ran the whole thing in a sling as well. So I was just like I keep showing people pictures. They're like, why are you in a sling? And I'm like, well, I've torn my bicep, haven't I? So, like, yeah. I was in a sling, and I turned up at the start, and I saw Reese. I went over to Reese to say hi, because obviously I've had him on the podcast and stuff. Yeah. And he just looked at me. He looked at the sling, and he was just, like, looking at me in disapproval. And I was like, my physio has signed me off to say that I'm okay to run. And he was like, right, as long as, like, you've actually had it looked at and they're okay with it, then I'm okay with it. And I was like, yeah. and I was like, I've had it checked out specifically to make sure I'm okay for this. And he was like, it's not just signing you off for running, is it? It's like signing you off for an ultra. And I'm like, yes, my physio knows exactly how stupid I am and what I plan on doing. And they said it's fine. And he was like, I'm happy then. It's on your back, like you've had it checked out.
And what time did you do it in?
I ended up finishing in...
The fact that you did it is just amazing, but...
I did a 7:31.
7:31, and what was the distance on that?
It was 32 miles.
Yeah, I think Lisa and a few of them did that, but I did see a few of the pictures from that, and it looked like you had to go through some serious
bogs and puddles and stuff. Yeah, it was the day after we had those really bad storms. So like we got really lucky with the weather, like didn't rain once. But yeah, the weather before just ruined the course. Not that it's a great course anyway, like it is boggy on the best of days, but it was horrendous. But yeah, the second half I crashed massively. My energy was just like, I remember when I realised I wasn't going to make my 6 hour time, because I was still like a good 10k out, I just gave up and I was like, oh, fuck this, I'm walking. I was just like, I'm in pain. My gait was thrown off completely because I'm wearing a sling. So it's just like I've now got really bad IT band, and I was like, fuck this, I'm walking. And I remember being on the phone to my parents, like I called my parents. Well, my mum called me. I just answered the phone like, the fuck do you want? And she was like, oh, you're still running then? I was like, yeah, I'm still fucking running. She was like, I wasn't sure what time you'd finish. I'm trying to catch up with you. I'm like, no, it's gone shit. Everything hurts. I'm not making my cut off that I wanted to do. And then she was like, oh, you're going to do it though. I'm like, I know I'm going to fucking do it. But I was in a foul mood by that point. But I got it done. I stayed around at the end for a couple of hours, like spoke with Jenks and all of that.
Nice. I can't believe you still did that, fair play.
Yeah, and yeah, now I'm planning next year's challenges. I might be getting a spot for Cardiff half, but I don't know if I'm going to take it or not because of my knee. I think I'm going to take the rest of this year to just come back from the injuries and get back in the gym and stuff.
There's a strong possibility I'll probably do the Cardiff half if someone chucks a bleeding place at me. But I'll run it with them because it's just I love their company, and it's just, you know.
See, I always struggle with running with people at events because in my head I'm going to, especially at the Rhythm, there were so many people there and so many people that I know from doing the podcast. I was like, oh, I'll run with people the whole time. And the first 7 miles, I was just trying to keep up with Jenks. He started at the front because he's doing the slam, so they all start at the front on the last race. And I was like, I'm going to try and catch up with Jenks. Fucking took 7 miles to catch up with him. He's a fast fucker.
7 miles?
Yeah.
What time did he do it in?
He finished 6:30. So yeah, 7 miles.
He's done amazing as well this year, fair play.
Incredible, man.
Well, the only thing you haven't done is the
wildhorse, yeah.
The wildhorse. Incredible.
Yeah.
I messaged him the other day saying he's having an incredible year. And now he's doing
the 100 mile on the... Oh, mate.
I'm not the only winner. I might pop down it actually because I'm going to get back into running. I did go for a run yesterday, like I said, and wasn't very far. I'm helping this. I met a woman who's wants to get into running, so I'm helping her at the minute, and which is good for me because I'm going to try and get her to run park running in about 6-7 weeks time. Yeah. But that's she'd love to do that. So, but yesterday was the furthest she've run. I think it was, I'm not sure, coming close to. Well, I didn't have my watch on. I was just going off what she said, but I think she said I thought it was around about 2 miles. It might have been less. But she was really buzzing with that. She was proud of herself. I was proud of it actually. But yeah, try and get in the next couple of weeks. But then Jan, obviously, she's training for the Cardiff half, so she wants me to go running with her because she can't join her group because she works different hours. I'm like, yeah, no problem. But now, like I said yesterday, because my knees were hurting as well, because I've been working on my knee strength. Yeah. And the bike as well, I find just, I don't know, everything seized up. See, when I had the I had a boot on for a while. I couldn't get on with that. I took that straight off and just got a set of crutches. But I did go out and have a few nights out. Not drink. I don't drink. I haven't drunk or anything for, I think it's coming close to 14 years. Something like that, I think. Yeah, I've never, like, the thing was, I never turned around and said I'm never drinking again. I just turned around and said to my mates, I went out on my birthday. I was living in Bridgend, so I went into Cardiff, and it was on a Thursday, my birthday. This was going back, obviously, years ago. And I ended up on a bender for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and ended up going to my mate's daughter's christening on a Sunday with like a pair of flip-flops on, shorts and a t-shirt, pranged off my head, like literally just looking around thinking like, what the fuck am I doing here, like getting really paranoid and stuff. And I went back to the do after, and I said, I'll have a couple of pints, I'll crash in my mate's house. I said, do you know what, I think I'm going to have a little break to Christmas, like. And he sort of laughed in my face. He's like, yeah, right, yeah, okay, see you next fucking week. I'll see you whenever you comes around, like. I was like, no, seriously. And I got to Christmas, and that was it. I haven't had a drink since. It's crazy. But my life is much better now. I mean, I'm not materialistic anymore. I haven't got a lot, but what I have got is peace of mind. I'm living where I am now. Like my father's sister lived in Resby. She brought her kids up there. So when we used to leave the council estate and go to my Auntie Pam's, it was like a holiday. Like the boys would take us down surfing. I was crap at that. I used to almost drown all the time. And now I'm like living there, and I just remind myself sometimes when I'm like, feeling sorry for myself. I just think like, look where you are, like, look what you got on your doorstep. Just practice gratitude, really. Just be grateful for what you got. So my life, I'd say now, mentally, physically, I struggle every day, mind. Don't get me wrong. It's like from the moment I wake up in the morning, like, it's a constant battle. Even if I'm having a good day, it's still, I'm still having to, because I'm more getting out now and I'm around more people. I find that a challenge, as my emotional regulation can get tipped quite easily just from the stupidest things. But I've worked really hard on myself. So I just think now, I take that 3 seconds now. Like, I try. Sometimes it's too, I just like, bang, sorry. But yeah, take that 3 seconds and just think to yourself, at the end of this, I just don't want any stress in my life whatsoever. Do you see what I mean? It's like, yeah, I just love being around people who are like, we're setting ourselves goals, and just even if it's 5k, like, it's amazing. I think it's, you see people and they're running and they're like, I used to do this thing. I'd crack my dad up, like, I'd be like in the car with him and like I see a run and I go, respect. And he, like, in the end he was like, why do you keep on doing that? I say, because I know how fucking tough it is to run, Dad. And these people, they don't look like runners. Some are like 18 stone, but they're out there doing it. And I can only imagine how hard it is. They're doing it, but they're doing it every day. You see them out there every day. You know what I mean? And it's amazing. And it's the power of your mind. Like, I've been to some dark places, and yeah, I just think what I've been through and has helped me doing ultras, I think, as well. In certain situations, it's like, okay, I need to do this, do I? Alright then. Well, you always got that voice, haven't you? Go in, that's just shit. It's fucking raining, you're freezing cold. But I'm like that person who just, if you say to me, don't do it, I'm fucking doing it. Like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I just, my dad almost done it, so he knows I don't like anyone saying anything negative to me. Like, so, sort of, I don't know, it could be simple, but when I went in and turned around and said, oh, I've done it, Dad, I've signed up to do the 200 fucking miles, fuck it. He went, yep, and then realised he was going to say, you fucking, like, you got to stop. Like, because obviously he's my dad, and he's just thinking, like, I'm punishing myself, I'm, like, you're doing too much now. Like, you've got, like, just be happy. And he sort of realised he was going to get a reaction after. And he just, like, spun and he went, oh, fucking fair play to you, like, but you are fucking absolutely nuts. I was like, well, tell me something I don't fucking know. And you've been living with me for 49 fucking years. So if you haven't worked that one out by now. But yeah, he's my world, he is, my dad. My absolute world. And I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for him. Like I said, he looked after me when I went through that patch. And it's a big fuck you as well to everyone who ever tried to fucking break me. There's the middle fucking finger. You didn't fucking do it, and look at me now. Never just surviving, fucking thriving. I don't know if you can put that in, but
I'll put it in, 100%.
You know who you are. And calm as a bitch.
You're doing well, mate. You've had a very interesting life, to say.
I have, mate. I could sit here and talk all day. I mean, like, even I'll go on to one of the ultras as well, because you can cut all this in, can't you? So I'm not sure if I actually said this, but it was the Black Mountains the year before I mentioned. So the Black Mountains Limitless, I back running. I was going to back run the first 28 miles because that's where the checkpoint was, and it was me, Holly, and Steve Dalton. So we started off, and there was a guy and a woman, quite elderly woman, and she said, I think it's going to take me about 22 hours to do this. I was like, that's fine, we're here. And we didn't see it again. She was off. And there was a guy, and he was quite a big, thick-set guy. But he wouldn't engage talking when we were trying to, like, talk to him and stuff. And I thought, well, just leave him be. So we were backing off, letting him just do his thing, because I thought, don't put him under any pressure to feel like he's got to try and do it faster than what he wants to do. And it was quite a funny day as well, that was. So he was going, and then I was like, all of a sudden he was like, oof, yeah, he's going a bit now. He's like, just climbed that, he's gone up there, so we better catch him up. And we come down to this thing, and he was stood by the gate, and he wouldn't go in there. And all of a sudden I looks like that, and it's one of those, I goes, it's a fucking llama. And it was an alpaca, right? And he's like stood by the gate, and this guy didn't want to go through there. So the three of us there, me, Holly, now Holly's tiny, right, really good ultra runner and runner. So like, I don't want to go into there, right? I'm like, not shitting myself, but I'm thinking, is it one of those ones which fucking spits at you and all that? So eventually Holly's literally just opened the gate and just walked in, and she's trying to take a selfie, right, with this thing now, and you can see he's frisky, right? And then there's a pen up a little bit further, and there's like all the females, yeah. So I've like literally run straight through the pen and just flew over the gate, right? And they're laughing at me. So anyway, they eventually come through, and then Holly's like literally gone to the gate, and it's lining it up, and I'm going, Holly, you better get over that gate, he's going to dry hump you now. He's looking at him, he's going like that, so she jumped over. So anyway, we carried on. She finished running at the checkpoint, and I thought, oh, do you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to carry on. And I ended up doing that. But this guy, yeah, he was at the back, but he kept on going. He seemed to get stronger as we went along, but he just didn't want to talk. And we thought, okay, some people, they don't want to talk, do they? And then we eventually bumped into this woman I just explained to you, right? The one who said she wanted to finish in about 22 hours. Now, it was the hottest day of the year. And I mean, you couldn't escape the sun. It was like there was no cloud and it was beaming down. And she was by Lantoni Priory again. And we got down to her and she said, is there any more hills like that one? And it was a tough one because we even struggled getting up there. It was like trying to find shade for a bit under a little tree which had no leaves on it. And so I was like, well, we hadn't even climbed Sugarloaf yet, and I was like near enough the end as well. And I was like, I didn't want to lie to her. I was like, well, there's going to be a few more hills, nothing like that one. I said, well, what's the matter? She said, I can't do no more. And I was like, well, okay, I think you can. I said, there's loads of us here, because we were in a little bit of a group then. I said, there's 3 back runners. I said, I can get you picked up from here, no problem, if you want to do that. I said, but there's no rush. We're way ahead of schedule. I said, we got water. There's a checkpoint now in 4 miles, 3-4 miles. We'll sit down. The sun will come down soon. I said, we'll sit down, eat, drink. So you feel, what do you want to do? All right, then let's go. So off we went, and then we did lose one guy at the next checkpoint. He had vertigo or something, and it was a shame because he was with 3 or 4 of his mates, and yeah, I was a bit disappointed that, you know, we couldn't get him to the finish. But you can't put pressure on people. You know, I tried to say, come on, you can do that. We only had Sugarloaf to go. So she carried on. We were walking up, and then I turned around and I said something like, I'd love to do an ultra abroad one day. And that lad I was telling you about, the one who wouldn't speak, just literally come out and said, oh, you'll love it, mate. But he was really well spoken, right? I was like, oh yeah. He was like, yeah, I've done 100 mile in America. I can't remember the names of the events. I've done 100 miler in such and such. I've done 100 miler in such and such. I've done 100 mile in such. I'm like this now. He's talking. So it turned out that he just lost, and he started telling us then the reason why. He said I struggled the first half. He said because I just lost my uncle. I was like, oh right, okay. And he was really close to his uncle, and they were like trained into trains and stuff like that. And then he was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, next week I'm going to take his ashes to their favourite place and whatever. And I was like, oh, do you know what? And we were all like, oh, that's such a nice thing to do, that is, you know. That you really, you must have been really close, whatever. And then I turned around, because I said to my nieces, and I said, I want my ashes scattered on top of Pen y Fan. And my niece goes to me, who's going to take you up there? I said, what? You're not going to walk up there for me? So it was a bit of a joke. So I blurted that out at that particular time. I said, at least you got like, I said, if it was my nieces, they won't even take me up and scatter my ashes on Pen y Fan. And I realised what I'd said after, and I thought, oh shit. And yeah, everyone just started laughing, and I was like, fuck, I got away with that one. And then got back to, he was worried about his friend, because he was with a guy, but his friend was faster. And he kept on saying then, oh, I hope my friend's all right. I said, look, your friend will be taken care of. I said, Ellen will feed him. I said, he's probably had a few. I said, don't worry about getting a lift down. He's probably pissed by now. I said, don't worry about your mate. I said, he'll still be there for you. And he was there. And I started talking to his mate after. And I said, is your mate autistic or anything like that? And he was like, no, he's got Asperger's. I was like, oh, yeah, I just had a feeling. But he was like, you could see he was really intelligent and everything. And I was talking to his friend then, and he was like, ex-heroin addict. Like, been for years and years and years, and now he's running ultras. And I was like, wow, like, you're amazing as well. But what a different, like, world, again, you know. But yeah, that was an eventful one. And when I got back then, like, when we finished, Linda Ashworth, her name was, the woman. She's the oldest woman to swim the English Channel. Oh, wow. Bear in mind, she's like, I'm sure she was 74, 5 when she did that. Yeah. And that was like 2 or 3 years before she did the 50. So I was like blown away. But she'd been to 3 World Championship triathlons, I think she said. But she had to self-fund that because obviously she was in the veteran class. But just people like you just meet people, some amazing people. One guy now, Nathan, it was on one of Limitless's. It was his first ultra. He's big, very big guy. He's lost a lot of weight. He used to be a bit of a powerlifter. Lives in Cumbrae actually. I can't think of his second name. It was his first ultra. I think it was the Beast of Lancadog. Caddock. I'm not sure what the name of it. So obviously back marking, it was 3 loops. And he was like, I want to try and get under 10 hours would be fantastic. But it was a real wet day and it was quite technical, coming down off the off like the Lonely, it was like a loop of like the Lonely Shepherd and then down that way. So the muddy, like it was real bad, like. And he finished, and I think he finished in about 9.5 hours, like. And then obviously I called him on Instagram then, so I've been following him, and he's been doing some pretty good things. He did 10 of Van. I bumped into him, I think, on one of my training runs. Or one when I didn't go for a run actually. I just thought I'd just go for just a walk up there, and he was doing 2 climbs, training for it. He did that, and then the other day, I see one of his posts saying, "Thanks to me, he signed up to do the Epona." So like he's gone from last year, from almost, well, it'll be like 2 years to going into doing his first 100 miler. Incredible as well, isn't it? So it's nice to be like mentioned and stuff like that. It's a bit surreal. It's like I still pinch myself, mate. Honestly, I'm like, I don't know how I do what I do.
Yeah.
Because I don't train like everyone else. I can't train like everyone else. It's like I can only do what I can do. And like what a lot of people don't know, when you're neurodivergent, like I explained to you earlier, it can affect like muscle weakness, chronic fatigue. I get bad, even down to your joints. And like I said, sometimes I can be lying there and it's like my whole body's inflamed. So I've got to be careful what I eat as well. But my diet, I wouldn't call it a diet. I just eat healthier food. Whereas like back when I was quite ill, or really I should say, it was like comfort food, ice cream. I could sit there. It was. I'd never been like this before though. I just ended up becoming a couch potato, sat in front of the telly, and I'd eat, instead of like 2 scoops of ice cream, I'd sit there and think, I'll just eat it out the tub. Before I know it, the whole tub would be gone. Then the next thing then I'd like have a Nutella, but then I'd always have 2 litres of pop next to me. So I'd drink that, so I'd have 2 litres, and I'd take 2 litres to bed. It was just ridiculous. I was just... Funny enough, the worst thing I had to give up was drinking Coke. I ended up in hospital. So I gave up Coke for a couple of days, and I just started like having really bad pains everywhere. So they took me into hospital. I was in a like side ward for like loads of tests, and they thought it was appendicitis. They thought it was all sorts. And it was on the Sunday. I felt a little bit better because I was on an IV. And I just turned around to the nurse and went, "Oh, do you want like a murder, a can of Coke?" She went, "Oh, could you live?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Why, do you drink a lot of Coke?" I said, "Yeah, like 4 litres a day." I said, "But I haven't had any for like 4 days." And she went out and brought the consultant back, and he was like, "We've had you in here all weekend." He said, "I suggest now you go home, start drinking Coke again, right, because your body's fucking shutting down." He said, "It's used to so much sugar, right?" He said, "You need to wean yourself off." I didn't have to do that with drink. Yeah. That blew my mind, that did. But then the weight started dropping off, so I stopped drinking that. Obviously, I do have the occasional cake and stuff like that, but I do eat quite healthy. I try not to eat I don't eat takeouts. But yeah. So you're going to ask me that dreaded question, aren't you? Challenge for someone.
What is your challenge for the listeners this week? I like how you already know the question.
Well, I've watched your podcast, haven't I? So it's like, that's been rattling around in my brain for a couple of days, and I've always like looked at your podcast and thought, right, I know exactly what I'd say, and now I haven't got a fucking clue. But it's not this. This is not really. So if there's any neurodivergent people out there who are worried, and they see people doing things like I do, training, and you feel you can't do it, start. You've got to start somewhere. So the challenge would be to do something which makes you uncomfortable. I know someone else has covered this, but it is, you need to push yourself out of the comfort zone. And I run with a woman a few years back who was part of our little running family, and she's an actual psychologist. I think she's a university lecturer in Cardiff now. And I was on a run, and I'm going to have to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, because I had to, it's a changing subject again, yeah, right? So I ran with her, and I said to her, I don't know if I said this to you, but I was going to give it up. So once I did a marathon, in my head, that was it. I've achieved the thing. And she said on the run, well, there's ultra marathons. So that was like the little seed which she planted. But she was quite negative towards her running. So obviously me helping them and just being with them and running at their pace and stuff like that, I said to her, sometimes you have to achieve before you believe. And she was like, wow, I absolutely love that. And I went home and I was like, my mind's going, and I'm thinking, she's a psychologist, like, she shouldn't have known that, like, but she actually thought that was a good analogy. So yeah, get out and just do something which scares the shit out of you. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, where can people go to find you online so they can find out how you do it?
I'm incognito. I am. No, I'm on Instagram, but my with me, I only tend to, because my account is private. Yeah. I normally only add people who I've met. Yeah. But if anyone wants to reach out, if they're going through a crisis or anything, I mean, whatever time of day, night, and they need help, you can reach me on Instagram. It's Hoppo_runs_wild.